What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 3LF Chapter 41 God Enel. After expanding his search, Xia Luo quickly sensed the existence of the Island of Gods, Apayado. And also sensed Enel, the god of thunder in Apayadori. He knew that Enel must also sense him. After all, the combination of Thunder Fruit and Heart Network can cover the entire Sky Island area. Moreover, Enel's heart network can also hear sounds anywhere in Sky Island. If you dare to say anything that disobeys him, you will be punished by the god's judgment. So after arriving here, he never mentioned Enel's name once, and now he is just exploring the location. Haha, are you interesting from Shanghai? Paramisha's demon fruit power? It's really a strange ability to fly. There is also a strange ability that can actually block my god's judgment. Ha 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 ha, what an interesting guy. In the palace of Apayado, on the Island of Gods, Enel lowered the hand he had just raised. Just now he was thinking of using God's judgment on Xia Luo, who was flying in the sky. But when he saw the other party turning back, he took back his hand. It wasn't because he was cherishing his talent. But he was very interested in the abilities of Xia Luo and others. How could he be a god? There are not many strong subordinates. Those who can resist his divine judgment are already quite strong, so he decided to give these Qinghai people a chance. An opportunity to challenge the god's trial. If they pass the god's trial, he will personally grant them the gift of becoming god's subordinates. Yeah ha 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 ha. I hope you can pass God's trial and come before me, Qinghai people. Enel reached out and picked up a bright red apple and took a bite, while letting out his unique laugh. On the other side, Xia Luo, who had already found Apayado's location, was about to turn back and join the other women. Suddenly I sensed that the judgment of God from Enel had landed on Angel Island. No need to guess, it must have been directed at Nami and the others. But he wasn't too panicked. Reiju had already mastered observation Haki. Now, Karina can be reminded to open the barrier immediately. God's judgment requires a short charging time, which is enough for Reiju to sense the coming attack. The other girls who boarded the ship first also started Haki's training. Although I haven't mastered observation Haki yet, my perception has become very sensitive. This attack can't defeat them, but it's better to rush back as soon as possible. Thinking of this, Xia Luo also accelerated her flying speed and flew towards Angel Island. But what Xia Luo didn't know was that Enel actually wanted to accept them as his subordinates. If he knew, he would definitely laugh at Enel's idea. There was a reason why Xia Luo chose to go back first instead of directly confronting Enel. The main reason was that Enel's fruit ability was too difficult to deal with. Logia Thunder Fruit's ability is one of the best in the world of pirates, and its attributes in all aspects can be called invincible. Among many fruits, it is a pretty perfect devil fruit. Unparalleled destructive power, the speed of teleportation within the Island of Gods, coupled with an extremely wide range of mental network perception. It is even more difficult than Aokiji. In terms of current attack power alone, Aokiji is higher than Enel, but there is still a slight gap in speed between the two. After all, he is a man who can teleport across the entire island. Aokiji does not have such speed. But it would be different if the person fighting before was replaced by Kizaru. Kizaru's sparkling fruit also has a super high movement speed. However, Kizaru can only teleport in a straight line and cannot turn. If you want to turn, you need to use the Yada mirror. The Yada mirror also needs to be reflected by the target object. Enel's short moment is not as troublesome as Kizaru's. In terms of abilities, Sparkling Fruit and Thunder Fruit are very similar. One has one with the speed and power of light, one with the power and speed of thunder. Both are the most unsolvable and fastest Logia Devil Fruit in active elementalization. Even if it is entangled in Armament Haki's attack, if the opponent uses active elementalization while incorporating the superb observation Haki. If it weren't for a completely crushing level of strength, Enel could interrupt almost any enemy's attack, making it difficult for others to harm his body. This is much stronger than Logia Demon Fruit power like 55 Sand and Smoker. There is no doubt that this will be the strongest enemy Xia Luo encounters besides Aokiji. In his estimation, Enel's fruit ability development is definitely A+. Although it is not as high as Aokiji's Admiral level development, it is almost reaching the awakening state. He also developed a terrifying move called Lei Ying, which can destroy an island. The strength of the body is even more so after the heart was damaged by the shellfish, and after using electrotherapy to stimulate the recovery of the heart. He just wiped a trace of blood from his mouth and acted as if nothing happened. You must know that Lu Qi's 6 King Spear is only several times as powerful as the Impact Shell, and the Volley Shell is 10 times more powerful than the Impact Shell. This shows that Enel's physical body should not be underestimated. The Heart Network, which is Observation Haki, should also have a level water. Flat. The Heart Network, blessed by Thunder Fruit's ability, can read the radio waves of everyone in the entire Sky Island and hear the sounds of the entire Sky Island. And use the fruit's ability to carry out fixed-point strikes against any enemies outside the field of vision. This kind of full-picture perspective, in which God's judgment and justice come from God's perspective, is also what Xia Luo finds most difficult. You have to be careful of Enel's Thunderball before anyone sees it. If he really uses this shameless style of play, it will be a hairy ball. The biggest advantage at present is that Enel does not know the existence of armament Haki. He has a passive element and is too arrogant to dodge any attacks. This is also the advantage that Xia Luo has. Faced with such a tricky role, even Xia Luo, who usually likes to be wild, had to be steady. Otherwise, even if Xia Luo has an ultimate movement speed move like Dragon Splitting Void, he can't guarantee that he can teleport faster than Enel. If you fail to kill the opponent with one blow and are escaped, then you will be in real trouble. Constant remote attack hell. Xia Luo doesn't want to be treated like this. Therefore, he had thought of the most stable way before he came. That was to detect Enel's location first, and after the real war, let the card. Lena created a barrier space to seal Enel and herself inside. This way Enel has no possibility of escaping. Aokiji's area of effect moves have not yet allowed him to break through his defense, and he is confident that he can withstand Enel's lightning strike. Now it's a matter of either not fighting. If we want to fight, we must never let any future troubles arise and we must not leave any opportunity to the other side. The ability of Thunderfruit is so powerful that even Oda had to arrange for the character Enel to leave the pirate world and go to the moon to live happily on his own. But even such a powerful Enel was killed by Luffy in the plot. To this day, Xia Luo can't forget what Enel said after facing Luffy's golden spin attack, "It's so fast." If this big brother hadn't been forced to lose his mind by Oda and forget that he was Thunder, Luffy's speed would not be able to touch him at all. It can be said that if the Thunderfruit was eaten by a strong man from Shanghai instead of Enel, the lucky one, the Thunderfruit might be more terrifying than the Marine Admiral. He still lost because he appeared too early and didn't come into contact with the existence of armament Haki. If he appeared later, he would be a proper 4 Emperors level figure. Chapter 42 Target. Golden Land. Following the scent of the women, Xia Luo flew quickly and arrived at the lovely street of Angel Island in a short while. Xia Luo. Nami also waved her hands happily and shouted when she saw Xia Luo descending slowly. "Are you okay? I thought I saw lightning landing just now." Although none of the women showed any signs of injury from the outside, we still had to ask symbolic questions. Well, no one was hurt. Nami Kaido, what's going on with these guys? Xia Luo looked at a group of guys wearing berets on Lovely Street, but they had all fallen to the ground. The people around Sky Island looked at them in disbelief. Although they probably already knew what was going on, they were still acting out the whole show. He knew that Enel could hear what he was saying now. "We don't know either. This guy asked us to pay for some illegal intrusion, but we refused, and then he wanted to arrest us, and then he attacked us, and you saw it. But what's a little strange is that there was a thunder in the sky just now. Fortunately, I reacted quickly, otherwise it might have hit us." Karina said with an indifferent expression, obviously not taking what just happened to her heart. On the other hand, a blonde girl on the side covered her mouth and said with a look of disbelief. "Karina-chan, did you just come here without paying the fee at the entrance?" "What's wrong, Konus?" Karina asked strangely. "As for the admission fee, I seem to remember that it was 1 billion ace coins per person," Robin said with a calm face, his arms crossed. "But I remember that the old lady guarding the place said she could come in without paying anything?" Vivi was also a little strange. She recalled that the old lady who was the guard looked at them with a strange expression. Could this be a trap? 1 billion Aegis coins is almost equivalent to 100,000 Baileys in Shanghai. If it is delivered normally, you can go sightseeing normally, but it is no longer possible. Attacking the direct subordinates of the priests is equivalent to a death penalty. "The thunder and lightning just now was a punishment from God," Konus said with a gloomy expression. "Hey, are there gods like this on Sky Island?" Several people said in disbelief. They didn't expect that there was a legendary god in Sky Island, and they would be in big trouble now. It should be Devil Fruit's ability value. The one just now is probably Thunder Fruit's ability user. "I see." Hearing what Xia Luo said, the others felt relieved. It was not like they had never encountered anyone from Logia, except those at the Marine Admiral level. Logia like Shichibukai Sand Crocodile were defeated by Xia Luo. In addition, even Karina had resisted the lightning strike just now, so they were not too afraid of Logia. "Speaking of which, the Sky Island people here really have wings as you said, just like angels, haha." Nuoki Gao seemed to remember the appearance of the Sky Island people that Xia Luo guessed before, and said with a smile. Yes, Captain Xia Luo, have you been to Sky Island before? Otherwise, how would you know?" Michida also echoed. Xia Luo just smiled and said nothing, while Konus's expression on the side was still a little gloomy. "Okay, Konus, you don't have to worry. You also saw that the thunder and lightning just now had no effect on us." Seeing Konus like this, Karina also smiled and comforted. Nami took advantage of this time to come to Xia Luo with a mysterious look on her face. Said with a wicked smile, "This is really like what was said in Rolando. There really is a golden land. You must have gone out to explore it just now for the golden land." Xia Luo grinned and said, "Indeed, there is a great possibility that the Golden Township really exists, and the Golden Township should be part of Gaia Island. It was brought to this Sky Island by the soaring sea currents 400 years ago. I just explored the place, it's probably in that direction." Xia Luo turned around and pointed in Apeado's direction. Gaia Island, the Golden Land, an island standing 10,000 meters above the ground is really incredible. Although he had heard Xia Luo mention the existence of Sky Island, Robin still sighed in surprise. Xia Luo, let's go find Golden Township now. Nami looked at Xia Luo with expectant eyes. She couldn't wait to find the gold in the Golden Land. Haha, you can go now, but first let's meet Logia's demon fruit power. Xia Luo touched Nami's head and said. Nami's miserly look is one of her cute features, as is Karina. The relationship between the three of them has long been broken. The flaws in their characters made Xia Luo feel like the spice of life. Great, let's set off right away. I want to find all the gold in the Golden Land. Nami cheered excitedly, looking extremely happy. Karina, who had calmed down Conus, also looked at the happy Nami here with some confusion. After knowing that the Golden Land is real, I fully support the departure now. These two girls really have similar personalities. These guys actually came here for gold, and they actually know the history of Apeado. No wonder they searched for Apeado's location as soon as they arrived at Baibai. Enel, who had been paying attention to Xia Luo and others, said in surprise. He lay lazily on the sofa, eating apples and giving instructions to the maids of God beside him. Let the 4 priests come to my place. Yes, Lord God. God's maids said respectfully after receiving the order. Haha, since you chose to bypass the God's trial and come to me directly, let's make the God's trial more difficult. This is against the rules. Punish. Enel said with a cold smile. The original trial of God only required facing 1 priest, but now it required facing all the priests. Chapter 43 Nami's surprise. Enel has been coming to the Island of Gods for 4 years. 4 years ago, he destroyed his hometown of Burka. After coming to Sky Island, he defeated the original god of Sky Island, Gon 4, and ruled the entire Sky Island, occupying the land of Apeado. Apart from training the 4 priests to enhance their strength, there is nothing else to do. Enel, who has completely closed off diplomacy, has never gone down to Qinghai to see it, so that he does not even know about armament Haki. In his eyes, the ability to elementalize is invincible. Coupled with the inner network covering Sky Island, he can look at everyone it will like looking at ants. Because he is so invincible that he has not practiced for a long time. But over time, Enel also felt bored. He felt how boring this life was. Until he heard a rumor from the Infinite Land. Then he began to build the Ark Proverbs to prepare to go to the Infinite Land, that is, the moon, to continue his dominance. Before the Ark of Proverbs was built, all his fun came from the Apeado indigenous people and Sandia people he had let go before, and he also had the dream to board the of Sky Island, outsiders coveting all his gold. That's why Enel has always been very tolerant of those Sandians who dare to challenge him. Because all these people are just monkeys trying to please God. It is precisely because of this character that he tolerated Karina, who violated the rules, and Xia Luo, who discovered that Apeado coveted his gold. He even tolerated Xia Luo's behavior of wanting to take people to fly directly to him without conducting the god's trial. Because Karina's first-hand barrier could withstand Enel's divine judgment against the guy who was going to bring him pleasure, which made him want to conquer him. With their strength, it was not a problem to pass the god's trial and come before him, but they never thought that the other party actually wanted to break the rules, so they could only change the one person in the god's trial to 4. Now he just wanted to see if Xia Luo and others had the strength to defeat the 4 priests and let them accompany him to conquer the Infinite Land. The other side calmed Conus, who was a little nervous, and sent her home. Then the girls followed Xia Luo back to the sailboat on the shore. It seems that in a short period of time, the girls and Conus got along very well. The main reason is that this girl who looks a bit innocent and cute is very similar to Kaya in terms of personality. They are both gentle and kind-hearted girls. At the same time, he was also the first Sky Islander to receive him after coming to Sky Island, so he still cares about Conus. On the sailboat on the shore, Xia Luo signaled several people to come to the lobby of the cabin. Everyone was a little confused, but they didn't say anything and watched quietly as Xia Luo took out the paper and wrote something on it. After Xia Luo gave the paper to several people to read and watch, everyone couldn't help but look shocked. What? Ow. After Makita saw what Xia Luo wrote, she was so shocked that she couldn't help but screamed out. Fortunately, Vivi next to her had quick eyesight and quick hands and covered her immediately. After coming back to her senses, Michida also smiled awkwardly and immediately changed the topic. What? Captain Xia Luo, are you hungry? Do you want some chocolate cake? I'm going to make a delicious chocolate cake right now. She also knew now that every word she said would be monitored at an extremely long distance, so she immediately followed up on what she had just said. The other girls also looked serious. They did not expect to encounter such a powerful enemy on this trip to Sky Island. Even Xia Luo was so cautious, which forced them to take it seriously. Xia Luo turned to look at Karina, who gave him a thumbs up, indicating that she was completely okay. In the note, Xia Luo also talked about ways to deal with Enel, among which Karina's barrier fruit is the key. Open a barrier to lock up Xia Luo and Enel, and then open a relatively small barrier to protect others. In this way, even if Enel can trigger possible thunder and lightning in the sky, it will not be able to harm them. I'm hungry, let's eat. Seeing Makita going to make chocolate cake for herself, Xia Luo also said with a relaxed attitude. Enel's matter is just for him to treat with caution. It does not mean that he will pay a heavy price for failure. With the strength of Karina's barrier fruit, he is not afraid of his god's judgment at all, and even Xia Luo can cut off Enel's god's judgment at will. Although his dirty tactics are troublesome, if Enel is really ignorant, Xia Luo will use the last resort and directly float the entire Apeado and move it away. He didn't believe that Enel would give up the gold and ships on this island before he finished building the Ark of Proverbs. This was his base camp. As long as he is forced to show up and fight, Xia Luo still has a chance to catch him. If the other party is really afraid that Xia Luo will not show up, then he can only take this golden town back to Qinghai with tears in his eyes to find other fruit targets. Hey, Xia Luo, once you find the gold in Golden Land, what are you going to do with it? When Nami saw others, she would either cook or be busy with her own business. When she was bored, she also talked to Xia Luo. Enel probably already knew about it when we discussed the Golden Land before, so now she doesn't worry about revealing anything when bringing up this topic. Gold. I have no desire to buy anything at all. It's just that you and Karina want it, so I will help you get it. After hearing Nami's question, Xia Luo really thought about it carefully, but she didn't seem to have any wishes that needed money to realize. Wow, oh, Xia Luo, you are so kind. As your thoughtful gift, I decided to give you a surprise. Hearing this, Nami was so moved that she almost cried. She didn't expect that Xia Luo cared about her so much, and that just her own hobby would have to resist such a powerful enemy. What surprise? Tell me. Xia Luo was a little confused. He knew everything about Nami. Is there anything he didn't know that could surprise him? Hey, you'll know when the time comes, so don't be surprised. Nami smiled mysteriously, but did not reveal the surprise he had prepared. Xia Luo shrugged. Since Nami didn't choose to say this, he should look forward to it. Then I look forward to your surprise, and in return I will give you a gift. Hee. Then I'm also looking forward to your gift. Nami smiled mischievously, then took Xia Luo's arm and stood up together to the dining table. Lunch was finished quickly despite all the chefs. The kitchen space is relatively large, enough for several people to cook at the same time. This was also renovated to facilitate Xia Luo to recruit enough chefs to cook for herself. Chapter 44 4 Women vs 4 Priests over a Peado. Xia Luo did not avoid her whereabouts at all and drifted straight in the direction of Enel. Enel, who had been lazy before, also sat up from the sofa, his face a little gloomy. These Qinghai people actually have mastery of the heart network? He originally thought that Xia Luo would land on Sky Island to search for them, so he arranged for people to keep an eye on them and guide them properly. Unexpectedly, they actually flew directly towards him. He seems to be a master at being able to cover this island's inner network. At least his subordinates don't have this level of inner network. It's really interesting. I'm looking forward more and more to the fun these Qinghai people can bring to me. After calming down, Enel lay back down again with a wicked smile on his face. You can find the existence of this god by relying on the heart network. This is the first time that this god has met a Qinghai person of this level. Ha 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 ha, that's good. This will save me from teaching you the inner network in the future. I'm looking forward more and more to the fun you can bring to me. You four, please behave well for me later. You don't have to hold anything back to defeat these Qinghai people with all your strength. Enel, who returned to his lazy state, picked up an apple and nodded. He looked at the waiting 4 priests and gave instructions. Yes, Lord Kami. The 4 priests looked respectful and quickly knelt down on one knee to respond. Then the 4 priests exited Enel's palace and came to the door, standing like sculptures in front of the door waiting for the arrival of Xia Luo and his party. They were also curious about what was so magical about a person who could be treated so seriously by God, and what was so miraculous about it that allowed all 4 of their god-tier officials to appear at the same time. Coming. Enel, who was resting lazily on the sofa, opened his eyes and showed a playful smile. Xia Luo, look at the palace below. The god of Sky Island should be there, right? Nami said, pointing to the palace below. Well, this is it. Xia Luo Kaido. It's strange. Why are there 4 strange people standing at the entrance of the palace? As they got closer, everyone also saw the 4 gods at the entrance of the palace below. Official. Who knows, but they are pretty good. Are you interested in giving them a try? Looking at the 4 priests, Xia Luo also had the idea of letting the girls test their strength. It looks interesting. I also want to try what you taught me. Count me in. Nokagao said with an interested expression. Me, I want it too. Nami also raised his hands. Since practicing, Nami has been working hard to improve his strength. In Alabasta, he fought against Mr. 2 Bentham, but Crocodile finally appeared and interrupted the battle between the two. Since boarding the ship, she has never had any results. Karina, who boarded the ship with her, not only easily defeated Mr. 3. Even the ability of the barrier fruit helped Xia Luo a lot and kept protecting everyone, which made Nami regret not eating the fruit before. She is now eager to prove herself in a battle. She is not only a navigator, she can also fight. Okay. Xia Luo touched Nami's little head lovingly. Of course, he was aware of Nami's thoughts. Whenever there was a need to fight, Nami would want to rush to the first place. Who else wants to play? Xia Luo turned to look at the remaining girls. Vivi and Michita immediately shook their heads to express that they had no intention of going. I don't have any thoughts about fighting. Can I leave it to Sister Reiju and Sister Robin? Kaya, who has a gentle personality, really has no interest in fighting, so she said with some distress. Haha, since Sister Kaya has said so, how can I refuse your request? Robin put his chin in one hand and said with a smile on his face. Really? Reiju and Robin have similar personalities, they are both kind of gentle big sister characters, and they both dote on little Kaya. Since Karina has to be wary of Enel's appearance, she needs to be ready to use her abilities at any time. Therefore, she stayed with Xia Luo and did not choose to fight. As the last person to board the ship, Robin cannot actually compare with Karina in terms of combat power, but her devil fruit ability is very good. In the 20 days since boarding the ship, Xia Luo certainly did not miss the special strength training for this royal sister. He needs to train all crew members to be able to deal with various special situations. The situation's combat power. Xia Luo provided many development directions for flower fruit to Robin, which also gave Robin a lot of insights. In the past, Robin had always used flower fruit to restrain the enemy, and also used methods such as breaking to attack. Now she has many new ideas for using flower fruit, and of course the power aspect has not been left out. The strength training in the crew training room has always been very prominent, and now Robin is even more powerful when using skills such as breaking. Soon, Xia Luo's boat arrived in front of the palace, and several people jumped from the boat. Outsiders, stop your steps. If you want to meet God, you must first pass our trial. When Xia Luo approached, the 4 priests immediately spoke out to stop their approach. Since the real owner hadn't appeared yet, Xia Luo and others also stopped and stood there watching them. Omu, the strongest among the 4 priests, saw Xia Luo and others knowingly stopped, and his serious face softened a little. But seeing that most of the people opposite were women, I couldn't help but frown, and after thinking about it, I spoke. Very well, outsiders. You can form a group of 3 challengers and choose one of our priests to challenge at will. Until all 9 of you fail, or you defeat 4 of us priests, you can pass here. In the end, Om gave a challenge condition. He didn't believe that these women had any fighting power. This was either a trial or a massacre. If the trial was originally conducted in the trial place, everyone should deal with one of them, but Enel's attitude made him have to be more cautious. There may be 1 or 2 strong women among them, plus the casual-looking man, who seems to have his own confidence, and has set conditions in order not to fall over. Don't go to all this trouble, just have a 1v1 duel. Xia Luo interrupted the other party who wanted to talk about the rules. What? Are you looking down on us? Several other priests couldn't sit still. They also felt that these women were not powerful. And Xia Luo actually wanted to wear 4 of them, and he didn't take their reputation as god-tier officials seriously at all. Okay, since you want to fight alone, then we will give you this opportunity. Om was also a little angry. They had defeated countless intruders in the trial field. I never thought that I would be underestimated one day. But Xia Luo just wanted to laugh out loud. These few clowns dared to dance here. If he hadn't been afraid of scaring Enel, he would have killed these little Karami with 1 sword. Chapter 45. Killed 3 priests instantly, without the ability to fight back. I'll go first. I choose this fat guy, he looks pretty durable. Nami took 2 steps forward and looked at the 4 priests on the opposite side, and finally chose Shadley from the trial of the ball. What? You little girl actually underestimated me. Hey, guy over there, are you sure you want this woman to challenge me? I am the guardian of the trial of the ball with a survival rate of only 10%. After hearing what Nami said, Shadley became angry and dared to say that he could withstand beatings. Obviously, this woman regarded herself as a punching bag. In his opinion, the man who should be the leader of this group would challenge first. Unexpectedly, it was a woman, so he also asked Xia Luo. Stop talking nonsense and let me see your strength. Nami directly interrupted his inquiry and took the lead. Using shade, he ducked in front of Shadley, and then punched his round belly without reservation. What? So fast? As soon as Shadley reacted, Nami was already in front of him, and her fist was about to hit his stomach. Zai had sensed the trajectory of the attack, but he couldn't avoid it, because Nami's speed was too fast. Beyond his expectation, he could only got a solid punch. Boom. The spherical body was like a deflated balloon, heading straight towards the palace wall. When the other 3 priests turned around, they only saw the collapsed walls, and Shadley, who did not know whether he was alive or dead, was motionless in the ruins. Wah. What? They all looked at Nami with shocked expressions as she defeated Shadley with 1 blow. As priests, they knew each other's strength very well. Even those among them who thought they could defeat Shadley would not defeat him with such a simple move. At this time, they also understood why their Lord God paid so much attention to the arrival of this group of people. But in fact, they thought wrongly. Even Enel himself didn't know that Xia Luo and his team were so strong. Damn little girl, let me be your opponent next. The rope trial. Shira flew up on his 3-foot-long bird, then swooped towards Nami, and the spear in his hand also burned with flames. Call out. Nami dodged the attack with her razor and then spoke. Your opponent is not me. Nami walked back to Xia Luo with a graceful step and said without looking back. Reiju saw that the 2 sisters around him didn't want to take action, so he walked out immediately. Then let me be your opponent. Reiju touched her lips with one hand, her expression a little charming, but judging from the only eye she showed, her eyes were not looking at Shira, but instead scanning the three priests. Should he not go to such trouble and knock down all three of them with one blow? This was a question Reiju was thinking about. HMPH, it doesn't matter who comes, just go to hell. Even so, Shira had put away his initial contempt. Since Nami is strong enough to kill Shadley in an instant, the strength of the person she trusts must not be underestimated. The 3-foot bird at its feet rose into the air again, holding the spear in its hand tightly as if preparing to charge up a blow. Reiju below him had his arms crossed and a casual smile on his face, completely ignoring him. This casual gesture aroused the Shira's anger even more, and his charging speed this time was a little faster than last time. Rebay Spear of Fire. Shira yelled out the name of the move, and the spear burned with a scorching temperature, threatening to penetrate Reiju's body with this blow. But just before the spear was about to penetrate Reiju, the figure disappeared. The spear missed again and hit the ground directly, causing a small crater in the floor. Where have you gone? Shira's pupils dilated, obviously surprised by Reiju's speed, just about to release the life breath around the heart net. A heart-stirring voice sounded from above him, and at the same time, a strong sense of crisis came from the heart network, constantly warning him of danger, danger. Now he was sweating profusely. Gritting his teeth, he drew out his spear and wanted to stab it upward. But a slender palm had already touched his helmet, followed by a cooing sound. Toxic impact, bump. Shira's eyes turned white and he lost consciousness, together with the 3-foot-long bird under him, The man and the bird were knocked directly to the ground, and a huge hole was sunk into the ground. The remaining 2 priests, Gedosh and Ohm, were speechless. Another priest was killed instantly with one blow. Moreover, Shira's strength can be said to be only lower than that of Ohm, the strongest priest. Their second most powerful person, he actually couldn't withstand a single move in that woman's hands, and ended up like Shadley. Ohm, we have all been deceived by them. These guys are much stronger than us. They're playing tricks on us. Gaidas saw the situation clearly, and now he also knew that each of these seemingly weak women might have considerable strength. The strength shown by Nami and Reiju alone is not something they can handle. The 1v1 duel is a joke. It should be the 4 of them fighting together so that one of them can fight back. At this point, there is no other way. Master Enel has ordered us to do our best to defeat them, but now it seems that we can no longer stop them. Ohm's face was gloomy, a 180-degree change from the contemptuous look he had at the beginning. But the rules have been made. If they go back on their word now, then the 2 of them will not be able to stop so many other people, and they can only continue to fight according to the rules. Damn it. Then I will fight next. If I fail, Ohm, you must protect the dignity of the priest. Gedosh also had a gloomy look on his face. He knew that his strength was not as good as Ohm's, so he could only attack first and create a trap. Whoever it is, please come here. When he walked to the open space in front and stood ready, Robin came out and made a gesture to protect his chest with his hands. At the same time, Gaidas's body suddenly grew 6 arms. 6 wheel flower anchor flower. 2 hands grabbed Gaidas's arms, 2 grabbed his feet, and 2 grabbed his neck. Gedosh was now put in the posture of a strong man locking down a man, with a horrified expression on his face. What is this, arm? Is it devil fruits Esper? He screamed in panic, a little overwhelmed by the current situation, and tried hard to break free from the arms that restricted him. But the strength in his body seemed to have been drained by someone. No matter how hard he exerted force, the strength dissipated inexplicably. And Robin didn't grab it casually, but he grabbed it at the point where he exerted force. Whenever Gaidas wanted to exert force, Robin only needed to exert a slight force. The other party immediately felt as if he was discouraged. His strength was moderate and he could not concentrate, which also prevented him from getting rid of control. What's more, Robin practiced strength training on the ship for 20 days. Even in his normal form, Gaidas's strength cannot compare to the current Robin. As his arms exerted force, Gaidas's face turned red and his hands squeezed his neck tightly, making it impossible for him to breathe. Gaidas's eyes widened, his pupils were bloodshot, and his eyeballs almost bulged out of their sockets. The body kept exerting force to break free, but all efforts were in vain. Click, click, click. A dull sound came from Gaidas's body, and the sound of broken bones sounded. Gadaz's eyes turned white and he foamed at the mouth. His body was like a boneless fish and he fell to the ground in a strange posture. Chapter 46 Enel shows up and gives electrotherapy first. Gedosh, damn it, you woman actually attacked by surprise. Ohm shouted anxiously. He was already numb at this time. Before Gedosh could take action, he fell to the ground without even Robin on the other side moving. Haha, during a battle, you don't want others to tell you, I'm attacking, and then fight over, right? Xia Luo chuckled. He felt like he was watching a drama, but he didn't expect that several priests had already left the stage before they even started. Ohm gritted his teeth, but couldn't say anything to refute Xia Luo. Indeed, he is not as strong as others and still wants to be reminded by others. This is a sign of weakness. He just subconsciously shouted out. HMPH, then you will be next, so hurry up and take action. Ohm's sword hilt spurted out an iron cloud, and a cloud sword suddenly formed, with the tip of the sword pointed at Nokagao. Now Nokagao was also holding a famous sword from Colonel Mouse's treasure house. Although she didn't know what it was called, the blue scabbard was printed with patterns and the sword was bright and sharp, which suited Nokigao's temperament, so she fell in love with this knife at a glance. Nokagao was not angry in the face of Ohm's provocation. He chuckled and pulled out. The knife was at a ready stance. Iron whip. As Ohm shouted and waved the cloud sword in his hand, the originally slender sword lengthened like a loach. It seems soft, but it destroys the stone bricks along the way. Nuo Kagao stood on the spot, without any fancy, just slashed with the sword, and the Yunjian was severed from it. It can even cut through iron clouds as hard as steel. Ohm never imagined that this seemingly inconspicuous girl in front of him could actually be a swordsman who could cut through steel. As the fourth person to board the ship, Nokagao can be said to be among the group of people who entered the crew training room for training at the same time as Nami and others. What she fell in love with was Xia Luo's swordsmanship. Whether she was practicing or cooking, she practiced swordsmanship all the time. Maybe it's his talent, or maybe it's the crew training room, but it took him 2 months to reach a level that can cut through steel. Slash wave. Nokagao directly swung the sword energy and flew towards Ohm. After learning Shao and Moonwalk, Tempest Kick also naturally learned that kicking out airflow and slashing out airflow with a sword have similar principles. So Nuo Kagao also quickly learned Xia Luo's slash wave, but the power was too different. Xia Luo can cut hundreds of miles, but she can only cut 10 miles. But even so, it is not something Ohm can resist. The moment the sword energy came into contact with the iron cloud sword, it was cut off, just as it was about to cut off Ohm as well. A figure made of thunder and lightning appeared beside him at some point. Just by stretching out a finger, countless thunders spewed out. The sword energy was penetrated by lightning and turned into nothingness. Bang bang bang. It really surprises me. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Enel clapped his hands and applauded, with a lazy smile on his face. Sorry Lord Kami, my subordinates failed to stop them and lost the trial. Ohm, who was rescued by Enel, knelt on one knee, with beads of sweat on his forehead, and said respectfully. Go down, I'll forgive you this time. After all, they're indeed much stronger than you, but have you neglected your training recently? You can't even sustain a single move. Enel glanced at him, and then said in a slightly cold tone. After hearing this, Ohm was relieved at first, but the words that followed also made him feel even more stressed. They accompanied Enel on his expedition from Burka to the Island of Gods. They had never been so embarrassed. This was the first time. Qinghai people, your strength is very good. Enel paused and looked at Xia Luo and said, especially you, as their leader, you should be stronger than these women. As a reward for defeating the priests, this god will give you the title of Divine Envoy, and you will go to conquer the infinite land as my subordinates. As soon as Enel said this, the whole place was silent, and everyone's eyes were fixed on him. Peefed ha 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 ha. After a long time, Xia Luo couldn't help laughing. With Xia Luo taking the lead, the other girls also laughed. Enel frowned when he saw this scene. Qinghai people, your attitude towards God is too ungrateful. It seems that you still need some punishment. The originally lazy look had been replaced by gloominess, and he felt very unhappy with the attitude of Xia Luo and others. 20 million volt discharge. Enel stretched out his hand and pointed forward again, and blue electric light accumulated at his fingertips and spurted out. When he made his move, Xia Luo had already flashed in front of him with her shaver, and the 20 million volts of electric discharge hit his body without any reservation. Lightning flashed all over the place, and Xia Luo was hit with only some smoke coming from his clothes. He was not seriously injured. Huh, this electrotherapy is quite comfortable. Xia Luo took a breath, then shouted, Karina. Okay. The latter immediately understood what he meant, and gestured to show the ability to use the barrier fruit. The green barrier directly enveloped Xia Luo and Enel. Huh? Is this the devil fruit's ability that blocks my god's judgment? Enel was a little surprised that Xia Luo could eat his own 20 million volt discharge and survive unharmed, but then he became interested in the surrounding barriers. He walked to the edge of the barrier and tapped it with his fingers, making a crisp sound. Then he fired a discharge at the barrier, but it was still unscathed. Qinghai people, are you provoking God? Enel raised his eyebrows, somewhat confused as to what Xia Luo's purpose was, and then said, I imprison my companion here because I want him to die, here? Haha, someone will die here, but that person is you. Xia Luo chuckled and then stretched his muscles. Enel's arrogant look just now really didn't deserve a beating, so he decided to beat this guy up before using the devil fruit stripper. Chapter 47 Stripping Thunderfruit. Qinghai people, you are very confident. Haha, I will give you divine punishment later, and then capture all the little girls over there to be my maids. Enel's half-open eyes showed no emotion, but judging from his cold words, he was very angry at this time. Xia Luo said no more, drew out her swords and dodged in front of Enel, slashing without any reservation. Enel looked at Xia Luo, who was overestimating his own strength, and smiled slightly, but when the sword was about to fall, his heart network kept warning him that Xia Luo's slash was dangerous for no reason. Faced with this strong sense of crisis, he followed his heart without hesitation and used lightning to dodge the attack in an instant. What was that just now? Why did my heart network give such a strong warning? Enel thought this in his mind, but before he could figure it out, Xia Luo's attack had arrived again. But this time he didn't dodge. Instead, all the gold jewelry on his body melted in an instant, and a golden stick appeared in his hand. Then he placed the golden stick in front of him, intending to block Xia Luo's attack. Clang! There was a sound of collision of solid metal, and a strong force forced Enel to kneel down on one knee. At this moment, his expression was ferocious, and Xia Luo's smile seemed to be pure ridicule in his eyes. He was so arrogant just now, claiming to be a superior god, but now he fell to his knees in embarrassment. Enel felt endless humiliation. Weren't you very brave just now? Why are you kneeling in front of me now? Come on, let me see what punishment you can give me and what you can do to my crew. Xia Luo's words were like igniting a powder keg, which instantly angered Enel, and this was his purpose. By irritating Enel and then making him lose his mind, his attacks will be more effective. Even a Kainu uses this move with great success. Qinghai people, don't be too arrogant. Who do you think I am? I am the god of Sky Island. Sure enough, Enel also showed an extremely angry attitude. Powerful electric current emerged from his body and hit Xia Luo's body. Xia Luo seemed to be affected by thunder and lightning, and the strength of the two swords in his hands couldn't help but weaken a bit. Enel showed a successful expression, stepped back 2 positions, and then sprayed a huge blue beam of light towards Xia Luo with his palm forward. Boom boom boom. Reality, the beam of light drowned Xia Luo's figure, and then hit the inside of the barrier. Only shrill shouts came from inside. Ha ha ha, ah. Hearing Xia Luo's screams, Enel finally couldn't help laughing wildly. Ha 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 ha, this is the price of provoking God, I will turn into ashes. Just as Enel was laughing wildly, a hand covered in black aura broke through the lightning and grabbed his wrist. Enel's expression was stunned for an instant, and the lightning in his hand dissipated, revealing Xia Luo, whose expression was a bit artificial, as if she was acting. Ah, it feels so comfortable. Hey, I caught you. Xia Luo's hair now can be said to be soaring to the sky, and she can cosplay as Nikaido Benimaru in The King of Fighters. However, what Xia Luo said about comfort was not a lie. Enel's thunder and lightning seemed to stimulate Xia Luo's undeveloped steel balloon talent. The activity of the body was greatly stimulated. At this time, he was eager to replenish energy. If it were the ant, she would probably be suffering from pyrexia. How? How is it possible? Enel was so frightened by this scene that emoticons appeared, and then he shook it off. Reality, the head tells me this is an illusion, it must be an illusion. After regaining his composure, his expression became much fiercer. Max 200 million volts discharge. Electricity gathered all over his body, and Enel's palms flashed with lightning again. This time the power of the elements was stronger than any previous attack. But before he could release the move, a fist magnified infinitely in front of his eyes. You must be tired after using so much electricity, give me a rest. Armed. Friendship-breaking fist. Boom. The fist hit Enel's face firmly, and the latter's expression was distorted, as if his eyes were about to be punched out. But before he could fly out, a huge force pulled him back, and Xia Luo still grabbed his wrist. Another punch hit him in the face and he fell to the ground. Then Xia Luo sat directly on Enel, fired her bow from left to right, and punched Enel in the face one after another. Xia Luo is so cruel. A trace of cold sweat broke out on Karina's forehead. She was worried for a while when Enel released a thunder and lightning shock to drown Xia Luo, but then Xia Luo's intact figure appeared. Reality, then he breathed a sigh of relief. Haha, this guy has violated Captain Xia Luo's taboo, that's why he is so angry. Reiju held her face with one hand and had an indescribable gentle smile on her face. It was obvious that she also enjoyed Xia Luo's attitude of cherishing the crew. Since leaving the Vinsmoke family, Xia Luo's performance has always satisfied her. The girls thought about it for a while. Xia Luo's usual personality and attitude towards the girls could be described as doting, and they couldn't help but blush. After a while, when Enel was already bruised and swollen, Xia Luo stopped beating him. Why? Why? You can touch me as a god. Enel moved his hands tremblingly. Now he had no strength to use the ability of thunder. The pain stimulated his nerves and he was still unconscious. He couldn't understand why, as the incarnation of thunder, Logi, a Thunderfruit's ability user, could be touched by others, and he couldn't even use active elementalization. That black fist seemed to be able to capture his figure. Oh, you haven't fainted yet. Your physical fitness is quite good, then just take a punch from me. Armed colors and conquerors wrapped around his fist, black lightning crackled, and he punched Enel in the chest without reservation. Reality, the ground sunk, and Enel's chest also sunk, but Xia Luo deliberately did not damage his heart, and Enel was not dead yet. Your abilities are good, but now they are mine. Xia Luo took out a square box full of mechanical feel from the storage space. Then he pressed the box against Enel's heart. Immediately, 4 mechanical claws shot out from the surface of the box and stabbed hard into Enel's chest to fix it. Then several thin tubes like tentacles stretched out and inserted into Enel's heart. The thin tubes seemed to be extracting something, and energy mixed with a trace of thunder and lightning was continuously transmitted into the box. Ah, Enel, who had just been knocked unconscious, was awakened by the pain, and then let out a cry that echoed through the sky. That voice! It's Enel, what the hell happened? The former Sky Island god Gon 4, wearing knight armor and riding a strange bird, looked at the palace deep into Peado with a serious expression. He knew before that a group of Qinghai people went to Enel's palace. As the once benevolent god of Sky Island, he did not want these Qinghai people to die silently, but still wanted to help them and ask Enel for forgiveness. But the current situation made him very confused. Instead, Enel let out a miserable scream. Without thinking too much, Gon 4 drove the strange bird quickly towards the temple. Chapter 48. The first way to use Thunderfruit. Wappa, it's Enel's voice. A group of Zandian warriors were also galloping in the forest of Apeado at this time, and apparently they also heard Enel's cry. They also detected a group of outsiders entering the territory of Apeado, and when they were fighting the 4 priests, the movement also alerted them. So they wanted to try an attack on Enel. They had done it countless times in the past, but in the end they were stopped by the 4 priests and had no choice but to retreat. Now is a great opportunity. The 4 priests of the trial land are gone, and even Enel has not shown up. Wappa feels that this time will be their biggest chance to regain their hometown. Go at full speed. We must defeat that Enel guy this time and take back our hometown. Wappa shouted an inspiring word, and then took the lead and quickly moved towards the temple. The Sandia warriors behind him also followed him with excited smiles. On the other side, Enel's screams were endless, and his life force was constantly being stripped away. After the device was extracted, the originally strong body shriveled up visibly to the naked eye. After half a minute, the shouting stopped, and in Xia Luo's perception, Enel had lost his voice. The god of Sky Island who created a world on Sky Island died of his arrogance and his narrow vision. Just like CP9 always believed in Iron Body, Enel also died believing in his strength and neglecting his own training. The metal box that had absorbed enough energy suddenly emitted some gas, and then began to disperse and open. A golden devil fruit with strange patterns and lightning barbs on its skin appeared in front of everyone. As Xia Luo picked up the devil fruit, the stripper also shattered to the ground. Finally here, Thunder Fruit. Xia Luo shook the devil fruit in her hand and grinned. Karina also opened the barrier after seeing that Enel was silent. Then everyone walked up to Xia Luo and looked at the devil fruit with some curiosity. Xia Luo, is this Thunder Fruit? What was that device just now? Karina asked first. She was really curious about the device Xia Luo just mentioned. What on earth can actually absorb Enel's Thunder Fruit? Well, it is indeed Thunder Fruit. As for that device, it is the devil fruit stripper that Mr. Shiki gave me. The lion fruit on my body was stripped out before Mr. Shiki died. Xia Luo already had a way to deal with the women's doubts. That's right, just leave it all to Golden Lion Shiki. No one knows whether it's true or not anyway. Devil fruit stripper? There is such a magical thing in this world? Is this really something that technology can do? Reiju is more knowledgeable, but she has never heard of a devil fruit stripper. Especially since her father is a scientist who studies blood factors, she is even more curious about this thing. Ha ha ha, technology is omnipotent. Vegapunk can even create artificial devil fruit. Kaido is also collaborating with others on artificial devil fruit. After Xia Luo laughed, she also explained to others about the artificial devil fruit. Anyway, there are even artificial devil fruits, and it is not impossible to use technology to make a devil fruit peeler. Artificial devil fruit? Then Marine and 4 Emperors Kaido have countless devil fruit armies? Michida exclaimed in surprise, with beads of sweat on her forehead. She had seen very little of the entrance to the first half of the Grand Route all year round. What Xia Luo said was even more unheard of. An army of artificial devil fruit was so terrifying that she couldn't imagine anything that could rival it. That's not the case. Kaido's artificial devil fruit is defective, and Vegapunk doesn't bother to make devil fruit. I don't know the specific situation. How many more of Captain Xia Luo's devil fruit strippers are there? This is the last one. This thing is not easy to build. This is such a pity. Reiju showed a regretful expression. Presumably, this kind of powerful technological device can peel off devil fruit at will, so Xia Luo can also create an army of devil fruit. Now that she has turned against the world government, Xia Luo will definitely be wanted as a bounty criminal. Her priority is to increase the strength of the fleet so that there will be less danger on the sea. Come on, Nami, this fruit is for you. Xia Luo threw the fruit over, and Nami hurriedly caught the fruit with an expression of disbelief. Xia Luo. This devil fruit is for me. Yes, this is the devil fruit that I specially selected for you. If you eat it, you will have powerful thunder power. No one is more suitable for this fruit than you. The power of Enel fruit is obvious to all. Unexpectedly, Xia Luo actually used the only devil fruit stripper just for herself. Nami was so moved that she didn't even eat the fruit, jumped directly to Xia Luo, hugged him like a sloth and kissed him a few times. Okay, eat quickly. Regarding Nami's behavior, Xia Luo also touched her head lovingly, and then urged her to eat the devil fruit. Nami nodded, picked up the devil fruit and took a bite. Like Karina, an unspeakable strange taste spread in her mouth, and she took a bite while resisting the taste. But Karina didn't know when she came behind Nami, grabbed the fruit and stuffed it directly into Nami's mouth with a proud smile on her face. Ha ha ha, I asked you to laugh at me, but I said that when you eat devil fruit, I will put it in your mouth so that you can try the taste. Along with Nami's whimpers, the devil fruit was swallowed directly, and the person collapsed to the ground as if he had lost his soul, but he quickly stood up again. Are you trying to kill me? Nami angrily grabbed Karina's collar and asked, but this was just a daily joke. What's the point? I didn't come here like this at the beginning. Karina spread her hands and looked indifferent, saying that I had eaten like this before. Nami looked at Karina with a hint of pride in front of her and was furious, but then her eyes flashed with a bright light and a strange smile appeared on her lips. A trace of electricity passed through Karina's body. There was a cry, and Karina grabbed the hem of her skirt, with a blushing expression on her face. Nami smiled evilly and turned around to pretend nothing happened. Karina blushed and gritted her teeth. She swore that Nami would make a fool of herself in front of Xia Luo tonight, even though they both made fools of themselves every day. Seeing the farce in front of him, Xia Luo pinched his eyebrows speechlessly. These two enemies were no longer over. Chapter 49 Sky Island's New God, Chirp. While Nami was still getting familiar with her newly acquired abilities, a birdsong sounded in the sky. Then several people saw Gonfu, the former god of Sky Island, wearing armor and riding a strange bird, flying above them, and then slowly landed. At the same time, there was a whistling sound in the forest, and the Sandians also arrived at the palace on the Island of Gods, where 3 parties of people gathered here. Of course, Reiju and Xia Luo sensed someone approaching from observation Haki, but the latter didn't say anything, and Reiju didn't take it seriously. When the other 2 parties approached, they also saw Enel lying on the ground not knowing whether he was alive or dead, and the other 3 priests who had been knocked to the ground. The last priest was missing. This is Enel. Enel is dead. The soldiers in the Sandian team exclaimed, with indescribable excitement and joy in their tone. Surprises always come unexpectedly. The god Enel, who ruled Sky Island with absolute force and was easily defeated by them no matter how much resistance they put up, is actually dead. Enel. He's dead? Gonfu's pupils were wide open, looking in disbelief. No one understands Enel's strength better than him. Back then, he was easily defeated by Enel and then pulled down from the altar. At this moment, Enel's shriveled body told him that he was dead. Qinghai people, did you do this? Gonfu looked at Xia Luo and others with shocked eyes. Xia Luo just shrugged and said, is there anyone else here besides us? Although he already knew the answer, Xia Luo's admission also shocked him. Gonfu got off his horse, saluted Xia Luo solemnly, and said, Dear strong man, I am Gonfu, the original god of Sky Island. Thank you very much for removing the Enel disaster from Sky Island. The people of Sky Island have suffered a lot in the past 4 years. It was your strong action that saved them. Gonfu sincerely thanked Xia Luo for what he had done. Even though the other person looked very young, he still treated him with the highest courtesy. Well, don't be so polite. I'm not here to defeat Enel for the people of Sky Island. It's just that this is my purpose. But we don't do these things for nothing. Now that I have defeated Enel, I am the new god of this Sky Island. Everything here belongs to me, including all the gold. Xia Luo looked calm and said indifferently. As soon as these words came out, everyone fell silent. Even Nami and the others did not expect that Xia Luo would become the god of Sky Island. Qinghai people, I don't care what your purpose is, but the bath here belongs to us Sandians, and this is our hometown. No matter how you want to be the god of Sky Island, please leave this land of Bath. Wappa was the first to react, and with a gloomy expression he raised the barrel of his gun and pointed it at Xia Luo. The soldiers behind him also became nervous instantly and used their weapons to attack Xia Luo. Don't be so nervous. If your hands shake and a bullet is accidentally fired, all of you will die. Xia Luo had a smile on her face, but she said extremely terrifying words. The Sandia people were also frightened by Xia Luo's temperament and were sweating profusely, but they still did not put down their weapons, just because their leader Wappa had not yet put down his weapons. Dear strong men, please forgive them for their rudeness. They all have their own reasons for being like this. Gonfu, who was on the side, hurriedly ran to the middle and bowed respectfully again. Boom boom boom. In this tense atmosphere, suddenly the floor began to shake, and then a giant snake as big as a mountain poked its head out and stared at everyone present. That is the Lord of Space, Nolan. The people of Sandia exclaimed. Obviously they did not expect that the Lord of Space, Nolan, would appear at this time. Nolan stared at the tiny human below, not knowing what he was thinking, and suddenly let out a roar. Noisy. Xia Luo frowned and looked at Nolan who was roaring, feeling a little irritated. With a sharp look in his eyes, Conqueror's Haki walked straight towards Nolan. Nolan instantly felt the impact of Xia Luo's Haki. His pupils shrank to the size of needle tips, his body trembled uncontrollably, and then he fell down with a bang. Gonfu and the Sandians all looked at this scene in shock. Nolan, the majestic lord of the sky, fell down just under the look of this young man. This weird ability is even more incredible than Enel's lightning power. Woo! Suddenly a Sandian man felt that his body was suddenly very weak. The firearm in his hand also fell to the ground due to weakness, and then the man collapsed to the ground unable to support himself. This situation seemed to be a chain reaction, and all Sandians, including Vappa, collapsed to the ground. Thanks Reiju. Xia Luo thanked Reiju, who spread his hands and said that they couldn't hurt Xia Luo even without him. Even before the Sandians took up arms, Reiju had already unleashed a colorless, odorless poisonous gas upon them. Although it is not fatal, if you are poisoned by this kind of poison, you will collapse to the ground exhausted. Dear strong men, please don't hurt them. Gonfor was already kneeling on the ground in panic, begging Xia Luo to let the Sandians go. The former god of Sky Island was also really kind, even at this time he had to intercede for these Sandians. Don't worry, I don't want their lives either, otherwise they will be dead the moment they see me. It's just that it's easier to talk in this state. Xia Luo waved her hand to indicate that she had no intention of harming them, and then asked Gonfor to stand up. Xia Luo was still a little uncomfortable having such an old man kneel down for her. I have heard about you Sandians, and the story of Nolandu and Calgara 400 years ago. As soon as Xia Luo said this, the people of Sandia were immediately shocked. They did not expect that the people of Qinghai would actually know about their ancestors in Nolandu. Although everything on Sky Island belongs to me, I can let you come back to live in the land here, but I need you Sandians to be loyal to me. Xia Luo stated his purpose. These Sandians are brave and good at fighting and powerful, although not as good as some pirates in Qinghai. But they are all tough guys who will stand up for their heart's desires no matter how injured they are. Even Xia Luo looks at this kind of person differently. Although he says he wants to be the god of Sky Island, he will not stay here forever. So it would be perfect to have such a group of tough guys loyal to themselves and maintain their rule on Sky Island. Gonfor used to be a wise god, and it was Xia Luo's plan to ask him to help take care of Sky Island after she left. Chapter 50 The Surrender of the Sandia Warriors. What? Are you actually willing to give us the precious bath, Earth? When Wappa heard that Xia Luo was willing to let them return to his hometown, he immediately shouted excitedly. Returning to their homeland has always been their wish, and now the new god of Sky Island is actually willing to let them return to their homeland, which makes the Zandian warriors excited. Ha 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 ha. Is it precious? To me, land is just something that can be obtained everywhere. Hearing Wappa's words, Xia Luo burst into laughter, and then raised his hand to activate the fruit ability. Longyu Island, which had been hidden under the Bai Sea, slowly rose into the sky, and then the island flew over a Peado. Buzz. Is flying. Except for Xia Luo and others, everyone present was stunned to see the earth flying in the sky. Miracle. Is this the power of God? Wappa couldn't help but murmured, and even he was unconsciously impressed by Xia Luo's power. I can fly Qinghai land to Sky Island at will, and Sky Island will not. Lack of land. Seeing Wappa's reaction, Xia Luo immediately laughed, and then dropped another bombshell. And I will not only let you live in a Peado, but I will also let you light the lamp of Sandola again. As expected, this statement caused an explosion among the Sandians, and they all started discussing it. This scene also looked very weird. A group of powerless Sandians were lying on the ground discussing things. Shut up. Wappa suddenly shouted, and the Sandians stopped their discussions. Reiju. Xia Luo breathed softly, and the latter nodded to express understanding, and then blew out a breath from his mouth, which instantly filled the Sandian people. Not long after, Wappa felt that his body had regained some strength. I saw him kneeling heavily on the ground, his forehead pressed to the ground, and shouted loudly. If you are willing to let us return to our hometown and relight the lamp of Sandora, I, Wappa, will do my best to protect everything on Sky Island for you. What Xia Luo promised was very tempting to these Sandians. It was too big, they were too eager to return to their homeland and relight the lamp of Sandora. You guys wait for me here. Hearing Wappa's reply, Xia Luo smiled, then said something to the women behind him and flew towards the sky. Where is Captain Xia Luo going? Who knows? The girls were also a little confused. Only Robin and Reiju, who were older, could guess what Xia Luo was thinking. It should be around here. When Xia Luo flew high into the sky, he scanned the sea of clouds here, but still couldn't find the target, so he flew higher into the sky. Found it. A huge golden clock is standing 10,000 meters above Sky Island. Sandora's lamp, it is said that its rich and beautiful bells, just like the lights in the dark night, can guide the direction of the fleet sailing in the storm. Xia Luo looked at the big clock in front of her and couldn't help but recall the scene in the original animation, and her hands started to itch. So he used all his strength and punched the golden bell. Boom, boom, boom. The loud bell resounded throughout the world, and even Qinghai under the White Sea heard the sound. This is, Coolie Guide on the other coast of Gai Island stopped what he was doing and looked at the sky in astonishment, with the beautiful bells echoing in his ears. Shandora is real. My ancestors did not lie. Coolie Guide was so excited that he shed tears. Although he didn't know what happened, the bell ringing in the sky was his lifelong goal. The Sandia warriors in Apayadan had also burst into tears. As Xia Luo floated the golden bell back to the ground, all the Sandians knelt on the ground. Lord Xia Luo, we Zandian warriors swear to be loyal to you to the death. Seeing the surrender of the Sandians, Xia Luo nodded with satisfaction, then looked at the stunned Gonfor and said, I would like to ask you to inform the residents of Sky Island. In the future, those messy rules can be abolished. From now on, you will not need to be bound by many rules to live on Sky Island. Hearing Xia Luo's words, Gonfor came back to his senses and responded quickly, Yes, respected strong man. No, Lord God. You all go down and inform your tribe to migrate here. After that, Apayado will no longer be a forbidden land, and both Sky Islanders and Sandians can live here. Live. As Xia Luo finished speaking, the Sandians kowtowed heavily, and then Wappa led the soldiers back to Cloud Shinobi village to tell the tribe the good news. Nagagao, I'm hungry again. After finishing everything, Xia Luo came to New Okagawa with a downcast face, although he didn't consume much energy just now. But after receiving Enel's electrotherapy, he felt that his body was evolving again, and now he was eager to eat to replenish energy. Seeing Xia Luo like this, the women looked at each other and suddenly laughed. Peeved. Ha 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 ha, I'm laughing so hard. Nami and Karina couldn't help laughing. Where is that incomparably majestic god just now? The two of them were laughing to the point of tears, and even Reiju and Robin couldn't help but chuckle. Xia Luo's face darkened, but luckily she was thick-skinned enough and glared at Nami, hoping to make this woman look good tonight. The latter returned his charming look and then continued to laugh. After Xia Luo returned to Longyu Island with a few people, all the girls began to prepare the food Xia Luo needed. This time he didn't feel like before, he needed more food ability from noon to evening, even the whole group of chefs could not withstand Xia Luo's consumption speed. What's wrong with Captain Xia Luo? The battle just now didn't consume much energy, but this time it took so long. After serving several plates of well-made chocolate cake, Michita returned to the kitchen and couldn't help but sigh. Who knows, but I feel like if you keep dragging it on like this, Xia Luo will probably eat you tonight. Nami replied to her, not stopping what she was doing and making the food non-stop, while Michita was so excited that she immediately started making the food again. Another 2 hours later, Vivi was already a little weak from exhaustion. Okay, Vivi, you go and rest first. Nami helped Vivi up and signaled her to go back to her room to rest first. Then she watched Xia Luo go out to get some air to digest food and then walked back to the room. Night. Xia Luo returned to the room and saw a figure already lying on the bed. He walked over with a smirk. Xia Luo rushed forward but discovered something was wrong halfway through. Nami's hair was yellow, but the hair on the back was blue. Nagagao. Xia Luo looked at New Okagawa, who was blushing, and the latter closed his eyes tightly. Continue with the no free load attitude that comes right to your doorstep. Chapter 51 One Piece? I want to become the king of the world? Early morning. Xia Luo got up and put on her clothes, then helped New Okagawa cover herself with quilt. As soon as I arrived in the lobby, I saw Nami with a smirk on her face. Good guy, this is the surprise you were talking about, right? Selling his sister may also mean that Nokagawa was voluntary. I just don't know when these two little girls secretly discussed it. He walked over and tugged on Nami's little face, indicating with his eyes that there would be surprises like this in the future. Must be done more often. After breakfast, everyone gathered in the lobby after a long absence and chatted. Xia Luo said that he would stay here for a while and was free without having to sail. However, the daily strength training has not fallen behind. Captain Xia Luo, you said before that Sky Island should have a historical text, right? When can we explore this area? Robin walked over to him and sat down. She was now eager to decipher the historical text. It's just that Xia Luo was delayed yesterday because she had to eat, otherwise she would have wanted to explore the ruins of Apayadon as early as yesterday. The historical text, I seem to remember it being at the bottom of the golden clock. After Robin mentioned it, Xia Luo remembered it. She seemed to have told Robin before that there was a historical text on Sky Island that recorded the address of Poseidon. After so many things happened, he almost forgot about it, but now that Robin reminded him, he simply answered. Although the others were not particularly interested in the historical text, they followed him as soon as they had nothing to do. When they arrived at the place where the golden clock was placed, several people also saw the historical text inlaid at the bottom of the clock. Looking at the huge stone tablet in front of him, Robin was very excited. He stepped forward and touched the surface of the stone tablet, and then carefully interpreted the content. Suddenly she discovered that there was actually a line of words marked on the gold next to it. I came here to take this oracle to the end of the world, D. Roger. One Piece. Did he also come to Sky Island? Why did he leave such a text? When Robin saw the signature of the text, she was so shocked that she sweated and took 2 steps back. She didn't expect that the historical text was actually related to the Pirate King. What's wrong, Robin? Are you okay? Robin's situation was seen by the other girls, and they couldn't think of anything that could scare each other. Log in to earn coins. Is the content on the stone tablet so exciting? Their curiosity was aroused for a while. When several people came up, they also saw the words engraved on the gold next to the stone tablet, but some of them didn't understand what it meant, because the One Piece also had ancient words engraved on it. What does this mean? It seems to be the words engraved on the back. It is not together with the historical text. The women asked curiously. That one was left by Pirate King Gold D. Roger, right? At this time, Xia Luo said. What? The Pirate King? Several women exclaimed in shock, and everyone knew the name of the Pirate King. Captain Xia Luo, can you also understand ancient texts? Robin asked in surprise. According to Xia Luo's previous description, he had never been to Sky Island. So how did he learn about this passage? It couldn't have been said by Golden Lion, right? I don't understand, but the text is obviously newly engraved, but the historical text is related to the secret of Raftru, and only one person has been to Raftru since ancient times, so I guess it should be left by the Pirate King when he was looking for the historical text. Come down. Xia Luo said with a smile, as for saying that she learned about it by watching animation. Even if you say it, even a few women can't understand it. It's something that is beyond the concept of this world. After Xia Luo said this, others reacted and understood in an instant. Historical text. Now I can understand why Sister Robin had a very high reward at a young age. Xia Luo, maybe you can really become the new generation of Pirate King. Nami said with some emotion. Robin plays an important role in it. I'm not interested in One Piece or anything like that. I told you, if I want to be, then I want to be the king of the world. Xia Luo said disdainfully. As a time traveler with a system, his vision is much wider than this. He felt that if he was really bored in the future, he would overthrow the world and re-establish order and become the king of the world. Nami and the others did not refute. They had seen Xia Luo's growth. When they entered the Grand Route, they found Xia Luo's words unbelievable. Now it seems that this is likely to come true. The man in front of him has really grown too fast. Robin then made a rubbing of the historical text of Sky Island. Nami and Karina took Xia Luo to accompany them on the treasure hunt. Most of the gold is in Enel's palace, but there is still a lot of gold in the ruins. The Lord of the Sky, Nolan, could only be regarded as a handful in his stomach, but Xia Luo still refused to let go. After a violent beating, he picked up the Lord of the Sky, and then shook it a few times like taking out garbage. Countless relic stones mixed with gold poured out of Nolan's mouth. Apayado is worthy of being known as the land of gold. Xia Luo no longer knows how much gold he has obtained here. I am afraid that he is now richer than the Golden Emperor. Nami and Karina are always smiling in their dreams. Just spent a few days on Sky Island again. Drink. Michita used the umbrella like a sword and hit Nami hard. However, Nami faced this menacing blow with a smile on her face. She flashed behind her with a thunderbolt, and then hit Michita with a powerful electric current. After being hit, Michita screamed, and then made a heart-shaking sound that made people blush. Ha 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 ha, you lost again. Nami laughed triumphantly. Michita looked unwilling to be knocked down, but there was nothing she could do about it. The quantity is too different from Nami. Now that Nami has obtained the Thunder Fruit, she is even more powerful. Just by acquainting Nami with the power of the fruit, she has been defeated countless times. Now Nami can be said to be the strongest fighter in the pirate group except Xia Luo. Although the fight with Karina is evenly matched, they can't hurt each other, but if it is an enemy, Nami's destructive power is stronger. Chapter 52 Welcome the Dragon King back to the throne. I really don't know why Captain Xia Luo gave you this fruit to eat. The speed of teleportation just now is about the same as Captain Xia Luo. If Captain Xia Luo eats the fruit, wouldn't he become the fastest in the world? A man now? Mikita stood up with a red face and patted her butt. Nami always used this embarrassing move during battles, which made her a little afraid of sparring with Nami. Xia Luo has said before that the fruit has no side effects. He himself also said that he can eat another fruit, but he is not sure whether to eat it yet. After all, Lion Fruit's ability is already very strong, but the restrictions of seawater and sea stone made him hesitate when eating a fruit. Peeved. The fastest man. Michita, you really dare to say that? If Xia Luo knows this, you will be the one to eat tonight. Nami spurted out with a puff, looking like she wanted to laugh but couldn't. Probably not, right? Hearing this, Mikita was suddenly startled and broke into a cold sweat, and then looked guiltily at Xia Luo, who was sparring with Reiju. Judging from the focused look on the other side, he probably didn't hear him, and then he breathed a sigh of relief. No, I think this guy Xia Luo must have heard it. After all, he has observation Haki. He is now a god. Is there anything else he doesn't know? Seeing Mikita's relieved look, Nami smiled evilly, stepped forward and put his arm around her shoulders. I welcome you to become sisters together, so that you can know how powerful Xia Luo is. Nami raised his eyebrows and said to Mikita, who was already on the verge of crying and looked like she had resigned. But it seems that he is not very resistant to Xia Luo. He must have been impressed by Xia Luo during this period of time. The more Michita thought about it, the redder her face turned. Finally, she transformed into Steam Princess and ran out of the training room. Nami stood there and laughed. These two ladies are really cool. After repelling Reiju's attack, Xia Luo shook her head helplessly. Of course he heard what the two women over there said. He now keeps observation Haki on at all times, not passively sensing attacks, but actively listening and sensing the dynamics in Sky Island. Haha, isn't this great? Another crew member has been succeeded by Captain Xia Luo, so will I be the next one? Reiju stopped attacking and chuckled. She was the first crew member on the ship to learn how to see things. Of course, she heard what Nami and others said. However, she had a seductive look on her face when she said the next words, and her movements were also very seductive to show off her figure. Seeing Reiju's feminine and charming look, Xia Luo couldn't help but swallow her saliva. Chance. Suddenly, Reiju accelerated his charge and came to Xia Luo, his palm about to press on his chest. However, Xia Luo grabbed her deep palm, and then a huge force pulled her. Reiju was hugged into his arms with her back against Xia Luo's chest. The arms that were caught were also in a hugging position, holding her tightly and unable to move. Huh? Is Captain Xia Luo so impatient? Do you want to possess me now? Reiju didn't panic at all. He revealed half of his face, raised his lips and continued to speak to Xia Luo in a seductive tone. This little goblin really knows how to seduce people. If I don't teach you a lesson today, you still don't know who is in charge of the ship. Xia Luo thought fiercely in her heart, and then moved towards Reiju. Reiju's pupils shrank instantly, and a trace of panic flashed across her expression. She didn't expect that Xia Luo would really come up to her. Even if Xia Luo had the habit of touching her, she would not force the crew. This was also the key to her confidence in seducing Xia Luo, but she didn't expect that Xia Luo seemed to be serious this time, so she forgot to resist for a while. As time passed, Reiju's eyes became blurred and he seemed to have forgotten that he was here for training. Wow, I didn't expect Sister Reiju to be so bold. Nami on the side couldn't help but exclaimed. She had been watching here for a while, including several other women. Hearing Nami's exclamation, Reiju's eyes suddenly became clear, and then he burst out with such force that even Xia Luo could not react. He immediately broke away from Xia Luo's arms and covered his mouth with a crimson expression. I'm sorry. I'll be here for today's training, you continue. Although he was equally shy, Reiju did not run away like Makita. Instead, he nodded towards Nami and the others, and then walked out of the training room with elegant steps. I really envy Sister Reiju. Kaya stared at Reiju's back with envy, then looked down at her chest. Wow, when will you grow up? He said in a somewhat low tone that Kaya is only 15 years old now, and Xia Luo said that he is still too young. Kaya-chan, do you really want Captain Xia Luo to pamper you so much? Vivi also said with a blush on her face. Although she is more precocious, Vivi is actually 1 year younger than Kaya and is only 14 now. Vivi-chan, you are so awesome. Kaya's face also turned crimson. Since the two were the youngest crew members on the ship, they quickly became good friends and talked about everything. Vivi also noticed Kaya's admiration for Xia Luo. Xia Luo glanced at everyone present, and it seemed that everyone had lost the training atmosphere. He shrugged and walked out of the training room. He happened to be a little hungry and went out to have a meal. But while Xia Luo was having lunch leisurely at Sky Island, what he didn't know was that the Qinghai world below had exploded. Headlines from world economic newspapers. Shocking. The true identity of Xia Luo, the strongest bounty hunter in the East Blue, is actually a disciple of the legendary pirate, Golden Lion, Haki. Xia Luo actually tricked all the marine executives into pretending to be her identity. Close black lens bracket. Is the strongest bounty hunter in East Blue, who once hunted pirates, finally going to become a pirate? Shocking. Nico Robin, the son of the devil, actually met Golden Lion too, Xia Luo. Is that kind of relationship? Nico Robin officially joins Xia Luo. Close black lens bracket. The former crew of the Flying Pirates announced that they are looking for the location of Xia Luo. We welcome the return of the young master. Open black lens bracket, close black lens bracket. The first half of the Great Line, on an unknown island in the paradise. Crocodile, who was holding a cigar and still wrapped in bandages, looked at the newspaper in his hand with a gloomy expression. Nico Robin. What a cunning woman. Is this man your next host? HMPH, sooner or later I will defeat him and become the Pirate King, huh? Crocodile threw away the newspaper and turned around to leave in a certain direction. The news did not affect him. It can be said that he has been awakened and regained his original intention. He wants to regain his strength, and then climb to the top of the sea to become the king. New World. Dressrosa, in the royal palace on King's Heights. Looking at the newspaper in his hand, Doflamingo had a strange evil smile on his face. Foo. Golden Lion too. It's really interesting. You have been hiding your identity before, and now it is exposed. What is your purpose? Ha. This sea is getting more and more interesting. He had been paying attention to this person since Xia Luo defeated Crocodile, and then ordered his subordinates to find information about Xia Luo, but he did not expect that the other party seemed to appear out of thin air. Apart from his own exposure of living on a desert island for 5 years, there are only things he experienced after his debut. It was as if any information from the past did not exist, which also attracted the attention of the king of the underground world. Chapter 53. The First Bounty in Immortal Resistance. In the Marshal's office at Naval Headquarters, Marshal Sengoku was sitting at his desk with his 2 old friends. Bump. Damn Morgans, where did he put Marine's face? Sengoku was banging on his desk. The reason was because the World News Agency reported the incident of Xia Luo teasing marine executives. Ha. Everyone was tricked by this brat. Garp laughed unbridled, not forgetting to stuff the senbei in his mouth. Garp, don't talk nonsense here. What you need to do now is to stop these evil signs. He was able to compete with Admiral just after his debut, and successfully escaped from Aokiji. This kid will definitely be Marine's enemy in the future. Garp always managed to irritate Sengoku at the right time. What we need to consider now is how to capture this kid. From Aokiji's description, we can know that he has a special physique like Charlotte Linlin and Kaido. The ordinary Vice Admiral no longer poses a threat to him. Only Admiral has the strength to capture him, but this kid inherited Golden Lion's lion fruit by some means. Marine has no power against the Air Force. If Golden Lion's old troops really find Xia Luo, they will definitely constitute a powerful threat. Crane Vice Admiral calmly analyzed the situation. Indeed, as she said, Golden Lion's old department not only had many powerful pirates, but also had its own scientific research team. This is a force that cannot be ignored. If Xia Luo really gets the support of these people and allows him a certain period of time to grow, a new emperor may appear on the sea again, and the balance of the sea will also be affected. Break in. Originally, if Xia Luo could enter the New World, he would definitely experience a battle between dragons and tigers. New World's territory is already saturated. If Xia Luo wants to gain a foothold, she will inevitably clash with big pirates from all sides. In this way, Marine can also profit from the dog-eat-dog approach and eliminate more pirates. But the problem is that Xia Luo does not need to acquire territory in the New World at all. He is a mobile fortress. All the territories do not need to be fixed in the air and no one can figure out his whereabouts. Alas, now we can only issue a reward order. Sengoku sighed, and it was currently impossible to send a Marine Admiral to capture Xia Luo. The Marine Admiral had its own mission, and capturing Xia Luo could not be completed in a day or two. With this kid's strength and what he did in East Blue, there should be at least 600 million in bounty. Crane Vice Admiral thought about Kaido. Is the initial bounty of 600 million belly too high? Sengoku surprised Kaido. No, it's just right. If he and the old members of the original flying pirates in New World. The rendezvous is the most troublesome. The first time the bounty is 600 million, it is estimated that even the big shots in the second half will not be able to sit still, and they will definitely invite this kid to join. With this kid's character, it is absolutely impossible for him to join those guys. By then, our goal will be achieved. Crane Vice Admiral explained the reason in one breath, and Sengoku also understood her purpose. To kill. With the high bounty on his head, all the forces will pay attention to Xia Luo. The little pirates will definitely be dissatisfied and continue to harass Xia Luo. The big pirates will not give up recruiting such a newcomer. If the recruitment fails, Xia Luo will also offend those forces. Okay. Let's do it. The criminal Xia Luo destroyed the 16th branch of the East Blue Marine and killed Colonel Rat and 2,000 Marines. They protected the criminal Nico Robin. A reward of 600 million belly is now offered. In the end, Sengoku decided to offer a reward of 600 million to Xia Luo. Xia Luo, on the other hand, was having fun on Sky Island at the moment, completely unaware that Marine had issued a bounty on her. I saw Xia Luo lying in his palace, his head resting on Lackey's thigh, and Konus was serving him next to him. A few days ago, Wappa and Gon 4 came to Xia Luo's palace and brought a group of Sky Island girls with them, saying that they wanted to be Xia Luo's maids to the gods. Of course, the upright Xia Luo refused their kindness. However, they still refused to give up. As gods, how could they not have their own maids of gods? They insisted on forcing these girls over. Helpless, Xia Luo could only choose Konus and Sandia's lackey as her maids, and let them take the other girls back. Seeing Xia Luo choose two girls, Wappa and Gon 4 were relieved, and then the girls left the palace with somewhat disappointed eyes. And Xia Luo was not used to being served by others at first, but after a few days, she became more accustomed to being served by others. I have to say, it smells really good. Lord God, ah. Lackey held a peeled grape and handed it to Xia Luo's mouth. The latter opened his mouth and ate it. Well, mixed with the aroma of a girl and the sweetness of grapes, it's delicious. It's so delicious. Ding. The sign-in system has detected the target Sky Island. Do you want to check in the target? Close black lens bracket wow. Xia Luo suddenly sat up and finally came. This move also shocked Konus and Lackey next to her. Lord Kami. What happened? Is Konus too strong? Konus said with some panic. Just now he was beating Xia Luo's calf, and the latter suddenly sat up. She thought it was her problem. No, it's okay. Nothing to do today, I want to listen to some songs. Xia Luo waved her hand to signal Konus not to be nervous, and then lay back down again. After receiving the order, Konus also took out his harp and started playing, while Lackey massaged Xia Luo's brain to relax her. Sign in. At this time, Xia Luo restored the system. Ding. Get Martial Arts Wing Chun. Ding. Get Observation Haki Experience Pack. Ding. Get 20% Death Resistance. Death Resistance? Xia Luo's pupils shrank instantly. Is Death Resistance the Death Resistance he understood? He quickly opened the system panel to check the description of its Death Resistance. When the Death Resistance reaches 100%, the host will not die, and no means in this world can kill the host. The current resistance is 20%. The host will have a Death Resistance halo once every year. When the host dies, a layer of resistance halo will be consumed to resist it. And the host's physical strength will return to its peak state. What a magical skill. As long as he reaches 100% resistance, what kind of undead creature Kaido? He is just a younger brother in front of him. He is pretending to be immortal, but I am really immortal. Coupled with the defensive power of the steel balloon, no one in this sea will be his opponent, not even the mysterious I am. The surprise came so suddenly that even his face showed an ecstatic smile unconsciously. Chapter 54 Target. Boeing Islands. This death resistance can be said to be the best reward after Steel Balloon and Lion Fruit. Compared with the rewards obtained by the other two, they are not worth mentioning. Observation Haki, as usual, was promoted to a small stage and then another reward. At this time, a black question mark appeared on Xia Luo's head. I do Wing Chun in One Piece. With my physique in the world of One Piece, I can use this kind of boxing, and the effect should be pretty good, right? Suddenly an idea popped into Xia Luo's mind. What would be the result if Robin learned martial arts? Ultimate's weapon color plus flower fruit plus martial arts. As the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. Robin has more than just 4 hands. He can even manifest arms as big as giants. He even imagined Robin saying something before the fight started. Wing Chun, Nico Robin. It's a bit exciting just thinking about it, but this just makes up for Xia Luo's lack of physical skills. This technique can also be learned by other girls, and overall it's pretty good. It was a fruitful day, and Xia Luo rested her head on Lackey's thigh happily. Hey, Xia Luo. Look at this. At this time, Nami hurried over, holding a newspaper in his hand. What's wrong, Nami? Do you have any new information? Xia Luo's lazy and enjoyable face with a bit of a lewd smile came into Nami's eyes, which made her furious. But she didn't know that Xia Luo was smiling at the reward she had just received. You will enjoy it. Something big is happening in Shanghai down there, you can see for yourself. Nami threw a newspaper to Xia Luo. Due to the breakthrough in Michita's fruit ability, it not only affects itself, but also the people next to it can eliminate gravity. Not even Xia Luo has this ability. As expected, the development direction of each fruit is different. Michita can act on other people's bodies to eliminate gravity. This made Nami want to find out what happened after the battle between Xia Luo and Aokiji a few days ago. She didn't expect that such a big thing would happen after arriving in Shanghai. What? Let me see. Xia Luo picked up the newspaper and scanned it carefully. New Sky Pirates, Captain, Xia Luo, no matter life or death, bounty, 600 million Baileys. The largest page image in the newspaper is Xia Luo's instant kill at the Arlong base. That photo of the other person. In the photo, he holds his palms in vain, showing an arrogant look, looking at him like an ant, and a sense of dominance arises spontaneously. Not bad, quite handsome. Xia Luo looked at his handsome face carefully and kept praising him. What? You have a reward of 600 million, do you know how crazy the situation below is? Countless pirates are scrambling to find you. A little-known guy suddenly received such a high reward. Countless people were trying to step on you to get the upper hand. Instead, Nami explained to Xia Luo anxiously. Haha, they're just clowns. Come as they come. They will not be my opponents anyway. Xia Luo smiled disdainfully and didn't pay attention to the small characters who came to challenge her. This time is different. I heard that even the 4 emperors intend to invite you and have sent people to look for you. 4 emperors? It's a bit interesting, but as long as the 4 emperors don't come forward, no one else is my opponent, so there's no need to worry. Xia Luo signaled Nami to be calm, and he would be in the way if something happened. Nami was helpless when she saw his confident look, and then she covered her head and walked away. Nami, wait a minute. Xia Luo stopped her. What's wrong? I still have to practice. Nami looked at him with some confusion, wondering what else he had going on. We estimate that we will have to stop sailing for a while. I have an important place to visit. Xia Luo said with a serious expression. Is it an important place? Is it dangerous? Seeing Xia Luo being so serious, Nami became serious unconsciously. She knew that Xia Luo wouldn't make any jokes, there must be something big going on. It's not dangerous, but this time I may be away for a long time. Xia Luo thought about Kaido for a while. Then when will you leave? Tomorrow. Then Xia Luo stood up, picked up Nami, and walked back to the hall, notifying others that she would be leaving for a while. During this period of time, they will stop sailing and let the girls improve their strength on Sky Island. Several women began to ask Xia Luo where she was going. Only then did Xia Luo take care of your own problems. As early as Alabasta, Xia Luo would feel extremely hungry and her body was in urgent need of energy replenishment. Even if he eats a lot of food every day, he can't be satisfied. He feels that he is getting closer and closer to the situation like his aunt. If he is not satisfied, I'm afraid he will suffer from psoriasis similar to Auntie's. His body kept telling him urgently that he needed energy and that he needed to evolve. Ever since, Xia Luo thought of the islands where Usopp had practiced for 2 years, the Bow Islands. The archipelago looks like a flower, but is actually several carnivorous plants floating on the sea, called the Baron of the Stomach. But there are countless attractive plants growing deep in the island, and the fragrance also attracts sea beasts and sea kings. It can be said that it is a captive replica of the world of delicious food. Xia Luo wants to go to that archipelago to complete her evolution and break through the currently undeveloped steel balloon physique. After hearing Xia Luo's explanation, the women were shocked. It turned out that this was the reason for Xia Luo's increasing appetite. No wonder Nuo Kagao and the others worked hard to make food. They were so tired that they couldn't keep up with Xia Luo's consumption speed. Then he understood the meaning of Xia Luo's stop sailing, but he was a little worried. Don't worry, don't you know my strength yet? There is nothing on the island that can threaten me. I can easily destroy a few small islands. Xia Luo used a relaxed and comfortable attitude to calm the emotions of the girls, saying that there was no problem. However, the women were more worried about Xia Luo's physical condition. Great strength always comes with risks, and Xia Luo's risk is that she needs to constantly eat to replenish energy and break through the body's limitations. We understand, you must be careful. We are waiting for you here, Nami said in a gentle tone with a tender face. This man has been giving to them and helping them. Now all she can do is what a good wife and mother should do, which is to wait for his return. After all, they can't help it all now. While it was still early, Xia Luo began to teach several girls Wing Chun, armament Haki and other related knowledge so that they could practice when she was not here. Night. Xia Luo comforted Nami, Karina and Nuochi who were in high spirits. Mikita, who was in high spirits before, was also taken down by Xia Luo. Regarding this matter, Nami is still very happy. She can share the firepower, and she also gets great satisfaction. Chapter 55. City of Seven Waters, Night Visit to Iceberg. Night. Xia Luo did not go to the Boeing Islands in the First World, but went to the world-famous shipbuilding Holy Land, the capital of Seven Waters. The City of Seven Waters is a city that has existed for more than 1,000 years. Even if it is inundated by tsunamis called water gods every year, it has not destroyed the island's economy and people. It is still a very prosperous island to this day. 800 years ago, the shipbuilders here joined forces to build the most evil battleship, Pluton Preto, in history. Tom, who once built Oro Jackson for Roger the Pirate King, invented a sea train that can travel on the sea. Finally, the people here no longer feared the water gods. The current mayor of the Seven Waters City is a disciple of Master Tom and the president of the most famous shipbuilding company here, Carrera, Ace Bagu, also known as Iceberg. That night, Bingshan was still dealing with affairs in the Seven Waters capital. As the mayor, he had countless busy affairs every day. Most of the matters of the shipbuilding company were left to his subordinates to manage. That is Rob Lucci, the undercover agent of CP9 and now one of the top 5 foremen of Carrera Company. Wah wah wah. Bingshan, who was doing office work in the study room at home, suddenly discovered that the window was opened somehow, and there was a roaring sound from the wind. Bingshan stopped writing in his hand, stood up and walked towards the window. The city outside was still brightly lit, and it was a very beautiful night scene. After taking a deep breath of the fresh air outside the window, he closed the window again and sat back at his desk. Your Excellency, why did you come to see me? Bingshan, who had lowered his head to write the information again, did not raise his head, but suddenly said to the empty study room. Bang bang bang. As expected of Master Tom's disciple, his perception is really sensitive. He actually discovered my existence. Xia Luo clapped her hands and walked out of the shadows of the room. After Bingshan saw Xia Luo's face, his pupils shrank suddenly, and then returned to their usual more natural state. You were joking. With your strength, it would be easy for me to not notice it, right? Golden Lion to Xia Luo. Bingshan revealed Xia Luo's identity, but it's not surprising, after all, Xia Luo is now in the limelight, and people big and small in the world are paying attention to him, so it's hard for anyone not to recognize him. Xia Luo chuckled without refuting, then walked to the sofa and sat down naturally, as if she was at home. I wonder what Mr. Xia Luo wants from me. Bingshan was a little confused about his thoughts, so he asked tentatively. Your Excellency Bingshan is a disciple of Tom, the world's master shipbuilder. Of course I am here to build ships. Shipbuilding? Wouldn't it be better to contact my shipbuilding company? Your Excellency Xia Luo went there in person, maybe because he has other matters, right? Bingshan was a little confused. Since it was shipbuilding, he should contact the shipbuilding company, and why did Xia Luo come to see him? Although he is a disciple of Master Tom, he has not built a ship for a long time, and the shipbuilding skills of his men are not bad, they are all first class. No, I want Mayor Iceberg to secretly help me build a ship, but I don't trust your men. Xia Luo didn't pay attention to Bingshan's doubts. Instead, she went to the side and poured herself a cup of hot tea. Mayor Bingshan, I'd better take a look at the shipbuilding drawings of the ships I need first. Then Xia Luo threw away the super battleship design drawing he obtained from Nami. Bingshan picked up the super battleship design drawing on the table and looked at it carefully. This is... Bingshan's hands were trembling slightly, and there was no concealed expression of surprise on his face. How did you get this blueprint? Bingshan shouted in an almost hoarse voice. You don't have to worry about it. Mayor Bingshan just needs to tell you whether it can be built. Xia Luo took a sip of the hot tea in her hand and said leisurely. Your Excellency Xia Luo, I am sorry that I cannot build this battleship for you. It is because I am not capable enough and the structure of this ship is too complicated. Bingshan glanced at the leisurely Xia Luo, then looked at the super battleship design drawing in his hand, gritted his teeth and rejected Xia Luo's request. Don't be too busy refusing. I know the secret you were guarding, Mayor Iceberg, the secret about Pluton Preto. Xia Luo's expression remained unchanged, and she spoke words that made Bingshan's expression change. Pluton. Your Excellency, you were joking. How can I have secrets related to Pluton? I am really not capable enough to build this battleship. At this time, Bingshan was breaking out in a cold sweat, but he still rejected Xia Luo with his original attitude. Haha, Pluton's design drawing is also in the hands of another disciple of Master Tom. It's your junior brother, the reformer Frankie, right? And I know Frankie's location. You don't want anything to happen to your junior brother, right, Mayor Bingshan? As soon as Xia Luo said this, Bingshan slumped down on the chair, his expression stunned and his mouth opened wide. No one should know about his relationship and secrets with Frankie. Why did Xia Luo know this matter so well? Bingshan couldn't figure it out. And I can tell you that in fact, your foreman Kaku and foreman Rob Lucci, including your secretary Khalifa, are actually agents from World Government CP9. World Government has already noticed you and sent agents to explore Pluton. It's a secret. The things I said are enough to express my sincerity, Mayor Bingshan. Then Xia Luo once again dropped a bombshell that shocked Bingshan, who was also shocked and speechless. Not only does he know about Pluton, but he also knows the identity of the undercover agent placed by CP9 here. What made him unbelievable the most was that the person he had trusted for 5 years was actually an undercover agent of CP9. He was a little suspicious at first, but Xia Luo's expression and words did not seem to be fake, and he thought about the weird things about the three of them. Move. In the end, Bingshan also came to a fact that he had not dared to think about before, that is, he had been targeted and placed undercover. What now? Can Mayor Bingshan agree to my request for shipbuilding? Xia Luo's seemingly questioning tone actually made it a certainty. Bingshan would definitely not dare to expose the secret that he had always guarded to the death. After Bingshan thought about it for a while, he suddenly looked up at Xia Luo. Your Excellency Xia Luo, I can agree to help you build this battleship, but I also have a condition. Tell me about it. Xia Luo looked at him with a playful look. I hope to get your help. If people from the world government really attack Frankie in the future, I want your chance to take action. And I hope that your Excellency Xia Luo can help secretly deal with CP9's undercover agents. Bingshan said solemnly. Xia Luo glanced at him in surprise, is that all? But what Xia Luo didn't know was that with his current weight, he could escape from Marine Admiral without any injuries, and he also had the strength to compete with Marine Admiral for a period of time. For a big pirate with a bounty of 600 million, the opportunity to attack a person of this level is extremely rare. For a person of Bingshan's level, this is true. Chapter 56 Give the iceberg a little shock. No problem, I can promise you anything, but let's not rush the CP9 undercover matter for now. Dealing with it so hastily will also attract the attention of the world government. I will help you deal with these things in the future. Now you can use them safely and boldly. They will not expose their identities prematurely in order to obtain Pluton's secrets. Xia Luo agreed to Bingshan's request immediately. These were all trivial matters to him. There is one more thing I want to ask your Excellency. After seeing Xia Luo agree, Bingshan breathed a sigh of relief and then asked another question. You say? Xia Luo was also a little confused. She couldn't think of anything else Bingshan could ask about herself. It is said that shipbuilders in ancient times built the super battleship Pluton. Because Pluton's destructive power is too powerful, shipbuilders in later generations tried to resist the possibility of harming the world after bad guys obtained Pluton. So countless shipwrights gathered together to build a super battleship that could rival Pluton. This design drawing by Mr. Xia Luo should be the design drawing produced by countless shipwrights, right? Bingshan's expression is very serious. Xia Luo's design drawing can be said to be no less than the Pluton design drawing, and it is easier to understand the structure above. Frankie said that Robin might be the one who could awaken Pluton. Although he didn't quite understand what it meant, Xia Luo guessed that using Pluton might be related to ancient writing. The design drawings given by Xia Luo do not need to be so troublesome. If the materials are enough, it can even reach the point of mass production. Who knows, maybe it is, maybe it's not. Xia Luo's answer is more intriguing. After all, this is something given by the system, and I don't know where it comes from. Whether it is or not is entirely up to Bingshan to guess. Is that so? I understand. Bingshan closed his eyes, as if he understood something, but Xia Luo was confused. What did he understand? He didn't understand anything. Does your Excellency Xia Luo have any other requirements for this battleship? Then Bingshan asked Xia Luo's other requirements. When building a ship, you still need to ask the needs of the ship owner first, otherwise it will not work if you just build a ship that is not to your liking. In addition to the large sailing ship, I also need you to build entertainment facilities on it, and replace the energy requirements for energy acceleration with electrical energy, and all the artillery with electrical energy requirements. It shouldn't be difficult for Mayor Bingshan to modify the energy device in the blueprint to store electrical energy, right? Xia Luo thought about it carefully, and it seems that apart from the fact that the boat is big enough and has enough entertainment facilities, there are no other requirements. But Nami's electricity can be put to good use. Not only can it float in space and jet to accelerate, but it can also gather all the electric energy and fire out electromagnetic cannons. It's quite powerful when you think about it. The electromagnetic gun fired by a battleship that can compete with Pluton is rated as Bingshan. How can it be said to be capable of destroying an island? By the way, I want you and your junior brother to build this ship yourself, and it must be very secretive so that no outside world can know about it. Xia Luo suddenly made another request as if she suddenly remembered something. Bingshan frowned. There was no problem in secretly building, but his junior brother. Although they trusted each other in their hearts, Bingshan still couldn't bear to invite the junior brother who he usually didn't deal with very well. But since it was Xia Luo's request, he had no choice but to agree. I understand, let's talk about the deposit, how to build a big ship. Bingshan nodded and agreed, and then started talking about the money needed to build the ship, but before he could finish, the scene in front of him shocked him so much that his jaw dropped. Xia Luo suddenly took out a large gold nugget from nowhere. The gold nugget was even taller than him. It was only a complete large piece of gold. Even the iceberg was the first time he had seen it. This. Bingshan was so shocked that he was a little incoherent and could only stammer to express his shock. Ha, my ship must use the best materials. You should have Baoshu Adams channels. The money should be enough to buy the materials for building the ship, right? The rest will be your reward. Xia Luo laughed heartily. He likes to give others a little shock. It's really interesting to see other people's jaw-dropping facial expressions. This kind of gold nugget can only be said to be a drop in the bucket in Sky Island's Apaya. Enough, you gave too much. Bingshan has not yet recovered from the shock, and he still stutters a bit when speaking. Ha, I said, the rest is your reward, you're welcome. It may take some time for me to come back to get this ship. I'm not sure about the specific time yet. Anyway, after it's built, I'll ask Mayor Bingshan to help keep it. Xia Luo stood up, hugged Bingshan's shoulders and patted her, as if I was optimistic about you. Bingshan was even a little ashamed, thinking, has Xia Luo always had such a bold and unrestrained personality? But it doesn't look bad either. Then I'll leave first, and then I'll ask Mayor Bingshan, goodbye. Seeing that the matter had been negotiated, Xia Luo no longer disturbed Bingshan to handle matters. He left a phone caller behind, waved his hand at him and left the study. Golden Lion too. What an incredible man. Looking at the empty room, Bingshan was stunned and murmured. He doesn't have the courage of a strong man, but looks very carefree and bold in his actions. But he also has a strong mind and is not the silly type. On the other side, Xia Luo, who left Bingshan's study room, headed towards the Boeing Islands at full speed. The previous small sailboat Xia Luo still felt too small. Now that I have the design drawings of a super battleship, I want to build a battleship that is truly my own. From now on, you can go out in a more stylish way instead of holding on to that little sailboat. Chapter 57 Evolution. The world's top combat power. 2 days later, after crossing the sea for an unknown amount of time, Xia Luo finally arrived at the Bajou Islands. Is this the Boeing Islands, known as the Lotus on the Sea? We're finally here? Xia Luo looked down at the 5 islands that looked like giant flowers and couldn't help but sigh. Flying in the sky, he saw a more comprehensive view. The island really looked like a blooming lotus, and there was a huge circle in the center, which was the mouth of the Baron of Stomach. This sea area was exuding an unparalleled aroma of delicious food, and at the same time, the wind also carried the aroma to the sky. Xia Luo sniffed it with her nose. Cuckoo. Xia Luo felt hungry again, and then plunged into one of the islands. Oh, it's such a nice island. It feels like you are really a prisoner of delicious food. Looking at the meaty fruits on the trees in front of me and the spaghetti flowers blooming on the roadside grass, I picked a large piece of meat and ate it. The aroma is overflowing, and it doesn't look like it grew naturally. Instead, it looks like it was cooked by a senior chef. High-end ingredients often require only the simplest cooking methods, but the ingredients on this island require no cooking at all. Xia Luo was immediately addicted to this food paradise, eating faster and faster, swallowing it without even chewing. Xia Luo was enjoying his meal when he felt a sudden itching on the top of his head. When he looked up, he saw that a man-eating plant was gnawing hard on his head. However, even if he bit his teeth to pieces, he could not break the defense. Xia Luo, who was addicted to food, did not even notice the feeling of ants crawling on her body. After knocking down the man-eating plant with one punch, he stood up and glanced at the eyes faintly revealed in the surrounding grass. Xia Luo glared, exuding a powerful aura, and the carnivorous plants fled instantly. They did not understand how the originally harmless food suddenly turned into a higher creature standing at the top of the food chain. After frightening the lower creatures here, Xia Luo was not disturbed anymore, and after eating most of the food nearby, Xia Luo began to look for a food paradise on the island. After more than 10 minutes of fast movement, Xia Luo accidentally kicked a piece of fragrant meat and rolled it into the grass. After pushing aside the grass, I was stunned by the scenery in front of me. What appeared in his eyes was a ramen waterfall, with eggs and fish slabs bigger than him, countless rock-sized grapes and fruits, and huge chunks of bone and meat growing on trees. Then I'll start. Xia Luo showed a bright smile, then rushed directly to the ramen waterfall and ate to her heart's content. After finding the legendary gourmet paradise, Xia Luo can finally open up her stomach and satisfy this bottomless pit here. 2 years later, Xia Luo walked out of a deep pit. At this time, his size had increased to 10 meters. Judging from some of the sauce left in the pit, we can tell that some delicacies were once grown here. Has the body finally evolved? Xia Luo looked at his soaring body size and his stomach that no longer felt hungry. Huge power filled his entire body. Boom, Boom. Xia Luo's figure disappeared, leaving a big hole where she originally stood. The body seemed to feel no resistance, and the force pushed Xia Luo hundreds of meters into the air. After the power disappeared, it was pulled back to the ground by gravity again. There was another earth-shattering roar, and the birds and beasts were frightened and fled quickly. Although it was only 10 meters in size, it made another big hole in the ground. Xia Luo stood up and whipped up a gust of wind with a wave of his hand, hitting the tree and knocking it around. This power is really good. Xia Luo looked at the movement caused by waving her hand, and then withdrew her hand, extremely satisfied with the evolution of her body. Then he opened his own panel to view the properties after a long absence. Open black lens bracket host. Xia Luo close black lens bracket, strength, S+, agility, S, spirit, S. Skills. Kendo A+, armament Hakis, observation Hakis, Conquerors. Haki, marine 6 styles shaving, moonwalk, tempest kick, hairspray hands, fire of sin, Wing Chun, death resistance 20% close black lens bracket. Fruit ability. Lion Fruit A+, talent, steel balloon. Equipment. Deadwood, Sakura 10. The attributes of the body have grown to S level, the 2-color Haki has also reached S, and the fruit development ability is also good. Xia Luo feels that she is on the verge of awakening. Now, he feels that if he fights Aokiji again, he will not run away in embarrassment like before. If he meets Aokiji again, Xia Luo will beat him into pieces. Then he closed his eyes and felt the condition of his body. His body shape continued to shrink, and he didn't open his eyes again until he returned to his original height of 2 meters. This archipelago is so wonderful, it's a pity that we can't move it, Xia Luo said regretfully while looking at the forest of this food paradise. There was nothing here at this time, and all the food was turned into energy for Xia Luo's body. The botanic islands are carnivorous plants, which attract sea beasts to come to the islands to eat, and then eat them all to replenish nutrients on the plants on the islands. This has also created many strange plants. If the islands are forcibly taken away, the stomach baron will not be able to eat a large number of sea beasts in the sea to replenish nutrients, and the islands will die as a result. However, in the future, he can come to this archipelago frequently to purchase goods, and Xia Luo also plans to transplant some special plants back. For example, there are some very large grapevine species and large trees that can grow ham. Even if you can't farm, you can still give a few girls a taste. After leaving this island, Xia Luo flew to a food paradise that had grown again on another island. Then he filled the storage space with ingredients, and then removed some plants from their roots. Obito removed them. A huge continuous pipe was found at the base of the tree. This pipe that looks like a vine is probably a special channel for the Baron of Stomach to regurgitate nutrients. Since the space cannot hold the creatures, Xia Luo can only use lion fruit to carry it with her. Flying over the White Sea, I was not afraid of lack of supplementary water and sunshine, so I rushed back to Sky Island at full speed. Sky Island. Today's God's Island is Long Yu Island. At this time, Nami and Nokagao, who had long hair reaching their waists, were sitting on beach chairs by the swimming pool. Oh, that guy has been gone like this for 2 years without any news, is he coming back? Nami said with a hint of sadness and longing on her face. Well, Xia Luo also said that this time he will completely solve his body's problems. Question, with his strength there won't be any danger, just wait. Although Nuokagao also missed Xia Luo, he still responded to Nami with a gentle tone. I don't care. If this guy doesn't come back, then I'm going to go down and find him. We also have the record pointer of the Boeing Islands. I'm going to see how long it will take for this guy to evolve. Suddenly Nami seemed to have made up her mind, with a determined expression on her face. She has been waiting for too long, and her strong longing made her eager to see Xia Luo, tell him her longing, and then squeeze him dry. Chapter 58. 2 years later, return to Sky Island. I also agree with this proposal. Now that we are strong enough to sail the sea, it is no longer a problem. Even if we encounter Admiral, we will not be afraid at all. It is time to find our captain. At this time, Karina walked up to Nami and the others with a glass of iced drink, then sat on a beach chair and began to bask in the sun. In the swimming pool, Kaya, Vivi and Mikita were playing. Reiju was sitting by the swimming pool looking at them with a smile, and Robin was quietly reading a book under the umbrella. Everything looked so harmonious. Today was a rare day for a few people to relax together. Everyone wore bikinis and went to the pool to relax. In the past 2 years, they have not given up on exercising their strength. But we also relax and play together every once in a while, and everyone gets together to have fun. Since he won't come back, let's go over and give him a surprise. Karina covered her mouth and let out a unique laugh. A malicious look flashed in her eyes, as if she was planning something. Xia Luo really took too long this time, and even she missed him very much. At this moment, several people suddenly felt a breath of life energy coming from the sky. In the past 2 years, they had become proficient in observation Haki and were very familiar with each other's scents. The sudden appearance of a strange yet familiar scent made them stunned. Then the women looked up one after another, and what they saw was indeed Xia Luo's smile that was a little bit embarrassing. Hi, beauties. Do you mind adding one more person? Xia Luo smiled and waved hello to them before landing slowly. Longyu Island is still the same as it was before. The orange trees transplanted from Nami's hometown have matured and bear fruit again. The road here is also spotless. It can be seen that there are often people cleaning the environment here. Luo. HMPH, you bastard captain, why are you back here? The moment she first saw Xia Luo, Nami's eyes filled with excitement, but she held it back. Thinking about the 2 years of waiting, she shook her head and snorted. But judging from Nami's full of longing, it was just pretending. Xia Luo smiled and walked to Nami, stretched out her hand and pulled the girl into her arms. Nami finally couldn't help but hug Xia Luo tightly. You idiot, you really made us wait for a while. If you don't come back, we will go and capture you. Our strength is very strong now. After Nami slapped the other person's chest and complained, she showed him a very strong posture. Haha, I know. I miss you so much after not seeing you for so long, Nami-chan. Now that my physical problem has been taken care of, I will never leave you again. Xia Luo touched Nami, who had long hair reaching her waist. Nami now was completely different from 2 years ago, not only in terms of strength, but also her hair had grown longer. Just 2 years ago, Xia Luo made a joke, saying that Nami would be very beautiful if she had long hair. This sentence made girls think that Xia Luo likes long hair, and then several girls started to grow their hair. First, Nami, Nokagao and Karina all grew their hair long to their waists. Kaya was also influenced and started to grow her hair long. Now only Reiju and Michita have short hair. At a glance, Xia Luo saw that the original youthfulness of girls had faded away, but now the fruits have matured. Seeing the longing and excitement in the eyes of the girls, Xia Luo patted Nami's waist. The latter also understood. After all, he couldn't occupy it by himself for too long. When Nami left Xia Luo's arms, the first one to pounce on her was Kaya. Brother Xia Luo, I miss you so much. Kaya kept rubbing Xia Luo's chest. As the first crew member to board the ship, her feelings for Xia Luo were no worse than any of Nami's. It's just that Xia Luo always said that the girl was still relatively young, so she never took action. Otherwise, with her obedient character, Xia Luo would have won her long ago. Carefully feeling the fruit of Kaya, Xia Luo felt that she could already pick the fruit. I miss Kaya-chan too. It's been so long. Kaya has grown up too. Xia Luo smiled and touched Kaya, who was only as tall as her chest. The latter blushed and then made a move that shocked even Xia Luo. Kaya jumped up and hugged Xia Luo's neck, and her face came close to hers. Kaya-chan is so bold. Seeing this scene, Robin covered her mouth and her eyes turned into crescents when she smiled. But just after this moment, Kaya let go of her hand and lowered her crimson and steaming head to pretend to be an ostrich. This bold move in front of everyone made her very shy, but she couldn't hold back her strong longing, so she did it anyway when her head was hot. Later, Karina, Nokagao, and Michita also followed Kaya's actions and hugged Xia Luo before joining in. These three already knew the basics, so they didn't feel ashamed at all. When Vivi arrived, the latter blushed and nodded coyly at the corner of Xia Luo's mouth before running back to Kaya, and the two of them pretended to be ostriches together. Reiju was more straightforward and direct. He pulled Xia Luo's collar to make him lower his head, and then approached him directly. And it wasn't just a simple click, but a very enthusiastic response. Wow, Sister Reiju. Kaya and Vivi both covered their faces and exclaimed, but they still watched the scene secretly between their fingers. Captain Xia Luo, long time no see. Satisfied, Reiju let go of Xia Luo's collar, then licked his lips before saying a greeting. Long time no see, Reiju. Seeing Reiju licking her lips, Xia Luo secretly swallowed her saliva, thinking, sooner or later, I will capture this monster. Then Xia Luo looked at Robin. She was the last to join her fleet, so Xia Luo didn't think about how she could defeat this mature woman so early. She was so good. Does Captain Xia Luo also want me to treat you like Miss Reiju? Seeing Xia Luo's eyes glance over, Robin covered her mouth and laughed. Ha ha ha, no, it's just that I haven't seen Robin-chan for a long time and I want to hug her. Xia Luo scratched his head in embarrassment. In fact, he had thought about it, but he didn't think about it now. Reality. But Robin had already come up to her at this time, tapped her gently and then retreated. Just think of this as a reward for Captain Xia Luo's return. Don't think too much about it. Robin smiled playfully, not caring about what he had just done. A smile also appeared on Xia Luo's face, and then she told the girls about the past 2 years by the swimming pool. There are also various exotic plants in the Bolan Islands, and the dishes from the gourmet paradise are also given to the girls to enjoy, and the transplanted plants are arranged at the same time. Night. Xia Luo began to test the strength that Nami, Karina, Nokagao, and Mikita had developed over the past few years, but in the end the girls were defeated. Xia Luo's current combat power was no longer at their level. But what surprised Xia Luo was that Reiju also got involved. As a modified person, Reiju's physical strength is much stronger than other girls, but it is still far behind compared to the steel balloon, and she will be easily defeated by Xia Luo in the end. Xia Luo could only light a cigarette and sigh, how lonely it is to be invincible. Chapter 59 Set sail again, drink. Mikita hit Xia Luo with the umbrella in her hand. The umbrella was still entangled with the aura of armament Haki, and had the added weight of light and heavy fruits. But facing this menacing blow, Xia Luo only used his arms to block, not even armament Haki. Clang. The contact between the umbrella and the arm actually made the sound of gold and iron. The strength is good. It seems that he has been well trained, Xia Luo praised. Then he made a fist with his right hand and struck at Michida, but his intention was obvious, and he was easily noticed by Michida's observation Haki, and he immediately took back the umbrella. When Xia Luo's fist was about to hit, Mikita suddenly opened the umbrella, and the wind caused by the fist directly blew Mikita back a little distance. It was precisely this distance that caused Xia Luo's fist to miss her. This is a combination of light and heavy fruits and paper arts? Xia Luo felt the feeling that she was about to hit, but when she got closer, she was like a loach, missing by just a hair. Hey. Michida did not answer Xia Luo's doubts, but smiled. A moonwalk, the airflow drove the parasol, allowing the almost weightless Michida to float quickly towards Xia Luo, and then did a backflip and sat on Xia Luo's neck. This weird posture now was like a father taking care of his daughter. Mikita clamped her legs around Xia Luo's neck and smiled evilly. 10,000 kilograms guillotine strangulation. The weight of Michida, who was originally light, doubled to 10 tons in an instant, and her legs tightened to clamp Xia Luo's neck, and gravity continued to exert pressure. This sudden increase in weight also caused Xia Luo to stumble suddenly, and cracks appeared on the ground under her feet. Ah, Captain Xia Luo, you were careless. Michida sat on Xia Luo's neck and laughed triumphantly, obviously very confident in her moves. She also practiced for a long time in order to increase the upper limit of the fruit, just to reach the awakening state mentioned by Xia Luo. Haha, this level is not enough. Suddenly Xia Luo laughed out loud and directly grabbed Michida's smooth thigh. Then, when the other party screamed in terror, he pulled him down and whipped him around a few times, and then pushed him to the ground. After all, she was still a crew member and her own woman, so Xia Luo couldn't bear to throw her hands on the ground. It's not enough to only weigh 10 tons. Your advantage is not in weight, but in the way of fighting by switching weight at will. Xia Luo patted her butt, which made the other party remember it for a long time. Facing someone who can bear her weight, this attack method is a pure flaw, so it is better to use it sparingly in the future. It hurts, admit defeat, Captain Xia Luo, you are so BT. This kind of strength is unique even in the world. Michida touched her spanked butt and shouted. After testing the strength of several girls last night, now it is time to test the actual combat abilities of the girls. It has to be said that with the existence of the crew training room and 2 years of diligent training, the development of the girls is very balanced, including fruit abilities, physical skills, strength, and Haki's training. He even learned the 6-style training method dictated by Xia Luo before, and after practicing it, he learned a set of fighting methods that suit him. Michida also changed the attack method that originally relied only on the weight of the fruit into a gravity slash attack using a closed umbrella. For this reason, she also learned some swordsmanship from Nokagao. Ha, then you underestimate the monsters in the sea. There are at least 2 guys who can match my strength now, and there are also many who are slightly weaker than me. Looking at the girl's mournful face, Xia Luo laughed loudly, then put the girl on his shoulders and let her sit on it. Then Xia Luo walked to the other girls watching the battle and nodded. Your strength is very good now. If you cooperate well, you will be able to fight even against Admiral. Especially Nami and Karina, both of you have very high lower and upper limits of fruit abilities and can play a huge role in actual combat. Nami and Karina also laughed when their names were specifically mentioned, with a hint of pride in their expressions. Now in the adventure group, they are the 2 most powerful. Even Reiju, who was stronger than them before, is now left behind. In this case, it's time for us to start our journey again. Looking at the expectant eyes of the girls, Xia Luo also announced that she would set sail again. After all, it has been left on Sky Island for too long, and it's time to start taking risks. Okay, the more lively girls jumped excitedly. The next target is the capital of 7 waters. Xia Luo said the target island for the next voyage. The super battleship that Bingshan was asked to build for him 2 years ago is probably completed and is waiting for him to sign for it. Xia Luo is still looking forward to this super luxurious battleship. The sign-in location has also been refreshed, and it happens to be the capital of 7 waters. This time I just got the reward that I haven't signed in for a long time. Sky Island's previous sailing with 9 people turned out to be 11 people this time. Xia Luo's original maids of the gods, Conus and Lackey, expressed their intention to sail with Xia Luo. As Lord God's maid, how could she not serve him by his side? Conus and Lackey's attitudes were extremely determined, and they also complained about Xia Luo's abandonment of them for 2 years. Xia Luo was also a little helpless about this. Although he could order them as a god, he still agreed after recalling the leisurely time of serving girls 2 years ago. In the end, he was still greedy. Today's Sky Island is more prosperous than before under the management of Gon 4 and several women. Coupled with the utilization of land, the food obtained has become more diverse. The peaceful era gave Sky Island's god guards more time to practice, and Wappa, the original warrior of Sandia, has become stronger and can definitely take on the role of guardian. Xia Luo was also very relieved to let Gan Fuer and the others guard Sky Island. Some interesting things happened during these 2 years. The descendant of Nolandu, Kuligite, actually landed on Sky Island through the Sky Current, and met Wappa, the descendant of Calgera. This seemed to be the end of fate. The two legendary descendants met again. The bell that Xia Luo rang 2 years ago rekindled the passion of this man. Wappa fulfilled his ancestors' long-cherished wish, rang the lamp of Shantora, and once again guided Nolondo to the island. Chapter 60 Return to the capital of Seven Waters, Fairy Bean? Xia Luo, look, the capital of Seven Waters is in front of you, it's so beautiful. Nami pointed forward and smiled happily. The long-lost sailing made her interest high. Everything she saw now felt very fresh. It's indeed beautiful. Xia Luo couldn't help but sigh when she looked at the huge sea fountain in front of her. It was already evening when he came here last time, and he hadn't fully appreciated the customs of the capital of Seven Waters. This time, he wanted to have a good time. Soon, the sailboat arrived at an uninhabited shore in the capital of Seven Waters and landed on the island. Ding! The sign-in system has detected the target Seven Waters capital. Do you want to sign in to the target? Sign in, ding. Get Fairy Beans X10, ding. Get Special Cooking Book, ding. Get Agility Enhancement Pack. Ding! The next check-in location is Sabodi Archipelago. Sign-in will be open in 40 days. Host, please go to the check-in location to sign in. Close black lens bracket. Fairy Beans. Another product of Otherworld. Xia Luo's mouth couldn't suppress the madness. Laugh. Fairy Beans are a good thing, but they are a bug-like product in the Dragon Ball world. This thing is an effect that was thought up by Feet in the animation world. It was so heaven-defying that a plot was directly arranged in the later stage of the Dragon Ball world to make it a rare item. Another life-saving artifact. After signing in to so many islands, I have obtained several life-saving props and skills. Now there is a battery life artifact. With this thing, Xia Luo feels that it is more than enough for him to fight Marine for a month. Here we go again. Xia Luo, you are as happy as a child every time you go to an island. Are you so excited? Nami looked at Xia Luo, who was immersed in joy, and covered her head and said, "This is not the first time that Xia Luo has behaved like this. He often shows this smile every time he visits a new island. The main reason is that the rewards for signing in are very good, and there are 1 or 2 unexpected things every time. Nami, you guys go shopping by yourself first. I have something to do and want to see the mayor here." Xia Luo did not tell Nami about the joy of drawing cards to withdraw money. Instead, she said something to herself and flew to the mayor's office at the top. He did not forget his other purpose of coming here, of course, to see his super battleship first. Thump thump thump. In the silent office, there was only the sound of pen rubbing against paper. Bingshan was processing documents in the office when a sudden knock on the door alerted him and the secretary, beside him. "Come in." Bingshan did not raise his head, but shouted naturally, and the people outside also pushed the door and entered. "Long time no see, Mayor Bingshan. I'm here to fulfill my promise and I'm here to get something." A strange yet familiar voice sounded in Bingshan's ears. Bingshan suddenly raised his head in shock, and then a happy smile appeared on his face. "Long time no see. Xia Luo." Bingshan smiled. Khalifa beside him frowned and looked at Xia Luo's somewhat familiar face but couldn't remember who he was. Then he turned back to a serious expression and said to Bingshan, "Mayor Bingshan, now is not the time for small talk. You still have many matters that have not been taken care of today. Well, Khalifa-chan, when a friend you haven't seen for a long time comes to visit, you always have to chat for a while. I'll take care of the official business later." Bingshan stood up and retorted to Khalifa. "Mayor Bingshan has been very happy these past 2 years. It must be great to have such a beautiful woman as your secretary." Without waiting for Khalifa to speak, Xia Luo walked straight to the sofa and sat down, just like when he first saw the iceberg 2 years ago. "Sir, you are sexually harassing me." Khalifa pushed up her glasses, and the reflection in the lenses made it difficult to see her eyes. "Ha ha ha, Xia Luo, you came here because of what happened 2 years ago. The things have been built. I didn't expect that when you said it was a period of time, it actually took 2 years. Well, that's right. In addition to coming to get things this time, I also fulfilled my original promise and helped you solve your trouble." Hearing Xia Luo's reply, Bingshan's eyes lit up. "I see, now is the right time," Bingshan said with a smile. Khalifa couldn't help but frown again as she watched the two Riddler-like conversations. Who is this Xia Luo and why does it sound so familiar? Moreover, Bingshan has always been under his supervision, so no one should be able to contact him without his knowledge. You must have been pretending to be very hard under the surveillance of CP9 in the past 2 years. It's also made things difficult for you. Originally, Bingshan was very natural when he didn't know the identity of CP9, but after knowing the identity, it was more difficult to pretend in front of CP9. CP9? Khalifa was stunned. Her first thought was that someone on the island had been exposed, and that this person named Xia Luo was here to help Bingshan deal with CP9. 2 years ago. Xia Luo, Khalifa's pupils shrank. She recalled, Golden Lion 2, Xia Luo, who became famous 2 years ago. Since he disappeared for 2 years, many people thought that Xia Luo was dead. Unexpectedly, he appeared here 2 years later. This is a big shot. He certainly cannot defeat the opponent with his own strength, so he must quickly notify his companions to evacuate. Just as Khalifa was flooded with thoughts, she didn't notice what Bingshan and Xia Luo were talking about at the side. "Hey, CP9 girl over there, stop standing around and come sit here for a while." Suddenly Xia Luo shouted at Khalifa, who came to his senses, and then he also walked towards them. But when he was halfway there, he suddenly noticed what Xia Luo had just shouted, and his expression became shocked. "Wah! What? Am I the one exposed?" She thought it was her companion on the island who was exposed, but she didn't expect that person to be herself. Escape. This is the only thought Khalifa has left. She cannot defeat Xia Luo, who fought against Kuzan 2 years ago, so she can only escape. Call out. But when she turned around and tried to jump out of the window to escape, she was faced with Xia Luo's face so close that she almost got into a fight. Khalifa broke into a cold sweat and took 2 steps back. Then he put his hand to his mouth and whistled loudly. This was a notification method that their CP9 occasionally use. She wanted to let Lu Qi and Kaku know that she had been exposed in this way. Stop bragging, your companions outside are gone long ago, and they have probably been dealt with now. Xia Luo smiled and took off her hand that was on her mouth. The latter did not dare to resist at all and could only let Xia Luo do what she did. Xia Luo's observation Haki at this time has long been able to cover the entire island. Lu Qi and Kaku's has long been included in key perceptions. Now these 2 people, including Bluno, who is disguised as a tavern owner, are in contact with these women. With their strength, there is no way they can be the opponents of these women. It is estimated that they were able to find out so quickly because the women did not hide themselves at all, and then the informants informed them after being noticed.